So today we're going to be focusing on Howard Stern and the controversy surrounding Howard Stern currently. And also we're going to be focusing on him as a DJ relative to what's going on. Because, there's a lot of discrimination in the DJ industry. Our last video that we just posted was dealing with DJ Qbert and his All Lives Matter stuff and all those types of things. And now we're going to be focusing on Howard Stern. So I don't want people to think I'm, singling Qbert out or anything like that. We're going to be focusing on any DJ that's dealing with racism. But, we're going to be focusing more on Turntablists in the future. But we're going to be covering Howard Stern, Die Antwoord in the future, definitely them. A lot of different stuff. A-Track will be dealing with racist things he's done. Diplo as well. Anybody that's put out some type of like fascist stuff or, things like that. But right now we'll be focusing on Blackface. So let's start. So shout out to, I'm going to wave everybody. Shout out to everybody that's watching. So yeah, we're about to start now. So this could be a long investigation. Not sure how long this is going to last. But so yeah, we're going to start out. Now, I'm just doing a general Google search of Howard Stern. So I just typed in the words Howard Stern. So we're going to look at the screen. And you guys are going to get to explore with me. All right, so we're going to be doing a exploratory investigation. All right. So we've got Howard Stern right here. Oh, we got Frankie D in the house. All right. Dope DJ out of Atlanta. Dope turntablist. All right, so we have Howard Stern responds to the controversy over resurfaced blackface performance. Howard Stern responds to backlash over resurfaced blackface sketch using the N-word. So one of the main things about all of these articles is that they're only mentioning him doing it once. Now he's done that way more than once. He's done blackface way more. He's done it at least 5 times. So for those of y'all who are keeping up, we've been doing a table of blackface of all the celebrities who've done blackface in the past, and this is part of the table. So let's go over to where the Howard Stern section is. Let's see, where's Howard Stern? We're going to do Aphex in the future, but Aphex won't be in this one. We're just going to be focusing. Right now, we're just at Fred Astaire, who's worth 10 million. But this is a chart of blackface, all the people in Hollywood who've done blackface, and celebrities as well. We got Vern. Oh, there we go. There's Howard Stern. 650 million. So he's one of the richest people on this chart, actually. There's a lot of people on this chart. All right, so look at this. These people, they got, awards, the MBE award, the most excellent British order. So we'll be exposing all that stuff in the future. These are just kind of previews of what's coming. But we're going to do a thing on this whole chart and talk about everybody that's on the chart. But we're not at 100 people yet. We're at like maybe 60, 70 people right now. But we're going to be talking today. This is about Howard Stern. So we've got, this instance 1 right here, 2, 3, 4. So there's about four times that we know of that he's been caught doing blackface. The media currently right now is talking about this instance of blackface right here. And this was him, this happened a little bit after Ted Danson. He's kind of doing a parody of Ted Danson doing blackface. And we're going to let's scroll to where Ted Danson is. Where's Ted Danson? Oh, there we go. We got Diplo and blackface. But where's Ted Danson? There we go. Ted Danson is right here. So we've got Ted Danson in blackface. So this was in 1993, I believe. And we're going to click on one of these articles to see what the general story is. So we'll go to CNN first. We're going to click on everything because this is a very new article. All these articles are, 1 day, 2 days. Everything is brand new. All right, so we're going to click on that. So I'm going to read this. So I'm going to read this. So Howard Stern is speaking out after a television special from 1993 resurfaced in which the radio host appears in blackface and repeatedly used racist language. Stern addressed the controversial performance on his Sirius XM show Monday. The ish I did was effing crazy, Stern said. I'll be the first to admit, I won't go back and watch those old shows. It's like, who is that guy? But that was my shtick. This is what I did, and I own it. So no remorse. That's very important. He says, I own it. When you say I own it, that means you have no remorse. And this blackface is a sociopathic thing. We're dealing with sociopathy and things that people do to ridicule and torment other people that have been ridiculed in the past. So he says he owns it. So he says, I don't think I got embraced by Nazi groups and hate groups. They seem to think I was against them too. Everybody had a bone to pick with me. The offensive sketch is from a pay-per-view New Year's Eve special in which Stern and his longtime co-host Robin Quivers satirized a Friars Club roast of Whoopi Goldberg in 1993, where Ted Danson, who was then dating Whoopi Goldberg, had dressed in blackface. So I just showed you all the blackface with Ted Danson in blackface. All right, so we're done with this CNN article. I'll read a little bit more actually. All right, so I'm going to read some more of this. So Ted Danson reflected on the... No, let's skip that. I don't want to hear about Ted Danson. All right, so let's see if they actually have a clip. They don't have a clip of there. We're going to go back. And let's see. So we're going to click back. We're going to look for a clip of this. Let's go to Fox News. All right. So now you guys know what's happened. He's being... People are calling for him to be canceled. Because of his, him wearing blackface. And we saw the blackface. We'll go back to that for those that are just tuning in. We're talking about these images right here. Now, the media is generally only focusing on this image right here. They're talking about this. They're not talking about this one where he's imitating a black judge, nor are they talking about this one where he's imitating somebody else, using prosthetic noses, doing very, very... very, very hurtful things, and this one right here where he's also got blackface on. So we've got 4 different instances of him wearing blackface. And if you notice, all these articles, they're speaking of it like it's just one thing. And this is a very important concept to grasp within white supremacy and how it permeates popular culture like a disease, And what happens is that these media outlets actually, instead of saying, wow, he did it 4 times and doing some actual research, they're just saying it like he did it once. So they're actually kind of minimizing the damage control, just being like, hey, maybe we can just get past this one instance of blackface, and work everything out. So we're going to go to the next thing. Let's go to Fox News. All right, so we're going to start to read some of this article. So, all right, so we're going to read some of this. So let's see. So let me pause this, or I'll just mute it. So Howard Stern is under fire after video resurfaced in which he appeared in blackface and liberally used the N-word in a 1993 sketch. The video resurfaced online Thursday, where a user cut together his segment on a past episode of The View, in which co-host Sonny Hostin asked him about his past use of the N-word on air. In the clip, Stern vehemently denies ever using the N-word and receives applause from the audience. The video posted by filmmaker Tariq Nasheed, shout out to Tariq Nasheed, he's a great Black American film director that's known for the Hidden Color series. Anybody that's watched those videos, very informative for people that aren't aware of all the type of trauma and I'm not even going to say conspiracies. I'm going to say actual kind of military tactics being used against Black people. Mob tactics, KKK tactics, all these different things. But so let's see. So the Tariq Nasheed then cuts to the radio shock jock using the racial slur in comedy sketches where he also appeared in blackface. So let's see if we can find that sketch, the video. We're going to click on the video. And we're on Twitter now. All right, so let me turn this on. All right, so let's see if we can pause this. We got the music from the other thing. I'm going to make this go back so we don't hear it. All right, so here we go. We're going to play it. So this is going to be a very full investigation. All right, so I'm going to press play.
Hold on. Wait. No, we had a guy on from the Ku Klux Klan. Yes. Who very freely used the N-word. Yes. And my belief was, hey, say it out in the open. Yes. I didn't use the N-word. Let's be very clear. Hey, Then what does you call a black rocket scientist?
I don't know.
A nigger. Whoopie roaded, whoopie roaded. I want you to give us a kiss, you smelly coghead coon. I love you.
May I say something here?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you can say whatever you want, you smelly nigga. Whoopi wrote that.
That's it, Ted. You didn't know I was going to say that. Whoopi had no chance to write it. I don't accept that kind of language. You can call her whatever you want, but you don't talk to me that way or I'll leave.
Well, don't let the door hit you on your big black ass, mama, on the way out of here. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. Now, Whoopi, you is a filthy nigger.
I didn't write that.
Well, you is a smelly nigger, so what's the difference?
Look, you two, don't you think you're going to ruin your career this way?
No. What's wrong with you? This here routine is showing people that we is not afraid to confront our racial stereotypes. Looky here. We is a nation of racists, and we must break through that barrier that we done constructed for ourselves. Can't you see that? Can't you see that, you little rib breath?
Okay, so one, he denied it in that original video, and on The View, and in his host Robin, who's a black woman who supports this kind of abuse of black people, she was seeing in the video, supporting it. Now he says, "Oh, hope he doesn't get canceled." Well, he's worth $650 million, and this was in 1993. He definitely wasn't worth $650 million in 1993. So that means that after he did these 4 instances of blackface, he became a 650 millionaire. He's almost a billionaire. He's getting there, So and it goes to show, if you look at other people in this chart, we got Shane Dawson worth 12 million, Bette Midler worth 230 million. We've got, it just never stops. We got Ben Stiller worth 200 million. I would have thought Howard Stern wasn't worth as much as Ben Stiller, but apparently Howard Stern is actually much richer than Ben Stiller. But yeah, we've got Betty Grable, so we're going to go through everybody in this chart in the future, but that's another video. So this video is just about Howard Stern. All right, so let's go back to Howard Stern. So we got these 4 instances right here to the new people coming in. We just played the video. All right, and now we're going to go back. All right, so we've seen the original video, and now we see that, he was lying about it on The View. We're going to play that again, the fact that he just lied.
So I used the N-word.
Yeah, you did.
Wait a second. Hold on.
I remember it.
Whoopi, hold on.
Wait.
No, we had a guy on from the Ku Klux Klan.
Yes.
Who very freely used the N-word.
Yes.
So let's stop right there. So the first part, so I'm flipping back around. So the first part, we're going to break down the ways that white supremacists are able to manipulate people's minds in what's called Stockholm Syndrome. Now, for anybody that doesn't know what Stockholm Syndrome is, we're going to go and search what Stockholm Syndrome is. But, there's ways of, manipulating the press and manipulating the media, or just manipulating fans, that him being a DJ, a famous DJ, people are able to use those techniques to keep themselves in the press and have things blow over. And then the press helps them by diminishing the impact of what they've actually done. Like I was showing you, all the articles that exist right now, right at this date. Right now, we're going to flip back around, because this isn't about me. This is about Howard Stern. You see, this says Howard Stern responds over over resurfaced blackface performance. They're not saying multiple instances of blackface and multiple performances, because all these performances that we were just looking at, all these pictures that we were just looking at were most likely from performances. Even if it wasn't a video performance, it might have been, it's some type of performance. Because we see here, he's imitating a black judge. He's using prosthetic, noses, kind of like Zoe Saldana. That whole kind of inflammatory white supremacist stuff. And so we're gonna go back. Let's see. So now we're gonna go back to where we were. Now, so now we're gonna click on some more articles. Now we're just gonna take a general look at what Ebro. This is Ebro from Hot 97. Now we're going to see. This is very new. He just responded. If you see, it says 3 hours ago. So I'm not going to play the whole Ebro thing, but I am going to play an excerpt, because Ebro is, obviously against, well, I don't say obviously, because sometimes, a lot of times Hot 97 pushes a lot of racist stuff, and they help it thrive. But once again, Ebro didn't mention that he had multiple instances of blackface, but we're going to go to Ebro's thing right here. It's the only thing I have loaded up because this is a hip hop institution, TTM Academy. So we're going to be we're dealing with social sciences and political sciences that are dealing with DJ culture and DJs in general. So we're doing an investigation on Howard Stern and the whole Howard Stern controversy. Shout out to everybody that's in the room. Shout out to Pooj. Yeah, shout out to everybody. And yeah, so let's click on this. We're going to press play. And we're going to see what Ebro. So this is a comment that Howard Stern wrote in his book. Howard Stern has a book called Private Parts that he put out. And a friend of mine actually played him in a movie, Matt from Secret Frequency Crew. Anybody that knows the Secret Frequency Crew, Matt and, Egg Foo Young and those cats, out of Miami, my homie Matt, he actually played Howard Stern as a youth in the Private Parts movie because he wrote a book called Private Parts, and then they ended up making Private Parts the movie like in the 90s, I believe. And so yeah, now we're going to flip back around and we're going to listen to this. So let's listen to what Ebro says. This is what Howard Stern said actually in the book. This is him reading out of the book about Rodney King, about the Rodney King riots. And this kind of very much pertains to what's going on now with George Floyd and all the other people who have passed away for due to racism and police brutality and subjugation of black people. So let's play.
These LA cops should have done what New York cops have been doing for years. Be real nice to Rodney, gently assist him into the squad car, give him a cup of coffee so he can sober up, take him to the basement of the station house, and beat the living ish out of him.
So this is what Howard Stern wrote. He said that they should have taken Rodney King and beat him up even more. This is, shout out to Steve out in Berlin. So we're doing a expose on Howard Stern. This is a investigation. All right, so we're going to press play again.
No cameras, no riots, no nothing. Case closed. Justice is served. I love cops. Every time they're on a high-speed chase like that, they're taking their lives into their hands. Who knows what those cretins are packing when they get out of cars? Cops, you deserve all the donuts you can eat. I just can't figure out why I still get traffic tickets. Actually, Rodney should get down on his knees and kiss the feet of officers that wailed on him. Have you seen the before and after pictures of this dude? It was a Rodney King makeover. He went in looking like Skid Row Joe, and after 20 whacks to the head, came out looking like Billy D. Williams. Nice new dude, stylish, pencil-thin mustache. He looks like a movie star. They beat the ugly out of him. Now he's a superstar.
All right, and so just for those who don't know, because some people might be, 20 years old watching this, 15 years old, we're going to go to actual Rodney King photos. So I'm going to type Rodney King. Let's see, Rodney. So let me flip back around while I'm typing, so I'm not just staring at a blank screen. So yeah, so I'm going to be typing in Rodney King photos. Let's see. So I'm typing in Rodney King photos. All right. So we're going to flip around so we can see what he actually looked like. All right. So we can see, the impact of racism and how it affects people. Right. So this is Rodney King. This is what happened to him. And Howard Stern. Thanks, Carlos, for those links and stuff like that. That's hot. We'll click on that stuff in the future. So yeah, this is Rodney King. This is what he looked like, and Howard Stern was making jokes in his book about what happened to Rodney King. And so for those who don't know, Rodney King was beat up severely by cops in L.A. and and riots ensued after that. The video looked a lot like this. This was a excerpt of the video, and this was before everybody had cell phones like now, where we're seeing police brutality all the time. This was just some random person that had a camera and they were able to film what was happening, and then the whole LA started rioting because of that. And now we have the George Floyd riots happening all over the nation. And so yeah, so that's just to give it some context. So we're gonna go back and keep playing it.
He threw out the ball at the first Dodgers home game. Maybe Mike Ovitz will represent him for a movie of the week deal, for one of those movie of the week deals. He just turned down a $2 million settlement. This guy is going to be the world's most dangerous millionaire. And then it goes on. That was a Howard Stern book.
Okay, so yeah, so let's go back to the original pictures. So we've seen that picture. Now we're going to type in Howard Stern So we have the Google of Howard Stern. So let's go back to the Google of Howard Stern. So this is just the general Howard Stern Google. Right now, if you type Howard Stern, this is what pops up. 91 million results. Very popular person. Let me close this window. It's kind of loud. All right. So let's see. So now let's just do this. Right. We went to, let's see, CNN. So let's click on some other sites. All right, so let's see. Howard Stern responds to backlash over resurfaced video. All right, and notice how they're just saying responds to backlash. None of the press is calling him a racist, or they're just kind of saying he's responding to people's unhappiness. They're not focusing on the fact that obviously he's a bigot, and he's a very rich bigot. All right, so and to the people that are just coming in the room. We're going to play this one little clip again, the Tariq Nasheed thing. Tariq Nasheed is a filmmaker who exposed Howard and kind of helped start this whole movement.
And my belief was, hey,
let's see.
Stop black, but is the N-word. Let's be very clear. Hey, Robin, what does you call a black rocket scientist?
I don't know.
A nigga. Whoopie rolled it. I want you to give us a kiss.
And it's also very important, too, that I'm going to talk about the fact that both his host, Robin, and the guy that's acting with him, the guy from the Jeffersons, I forget his name, whoever that actor is, they're both black Americans that are supporting him and helping him push white supremacist propaganda. So a lot of people say, like in the Kubert video, the response video, he's like, hey, I got a black friend, but, having a black friend, having black employees, that doesn't remove somebody from being a racist, and being a white supremacist, because what he's doing is, very, very impactful. He has a lot of viewers. He has a lot of effect and a lot of fans. Some of those, officers of the Rodney King riots might have been Howard Stern fans, and that's the thing is that, it's kind of as far as white supremacy and its effect on black people over the years. This is a historical investigation. As far as that relationship over the year,s we can pinpoint all of this as a form of mental illness, as a form of sociopathy, as a form of psychosis. So these are So racism is a disease of sociopathic people that can't treat people as equals, more like animals. Some animals, there's nice animals, and there's animals that aren't nice, but Howard Stern is being animalistic. And then if we're going to look at this chart, we're going to look at the Blackface chart again. This is a chart that we will be releasing soon, probably within the month, once we get to 100 people. But we see Lady Gaga, it's nonstop. The number of, everybody, all your favorite actors have mostly done it. We've got Judy Garland, the woman that played Dorothy, everybody, Seinfeld, everybody's on here. So let's go back to Howard Stern, and shout out to Roger's in the house. Roger actually suggested that I release a book of all this, and I will. So shout out to Roger for suggesting that, and maybe you could do the forward, Roger. That'd be great if you could do the forward, because I hadn't even thought about releasing it as a book. I just was like, hey, I just want the information to get out there. All right, so we're going to continue this.
You smelly cockhead coon. I love
May
you.
I say something here?
Oh, you can say whatever you want, you smelly nigga. Whoopi wrote that.
That's it, Ted. You didn't know I was going to say that. Whoopi had no chance to write it. I don't accept that kind of language. You can call her whatever you want, but...
So for those that don't know, he's talking about, he's wearing blackface because he's parodying Ted Danson, who wore blackface at a roast for involved with Whoopi Goldberg. And, so this is, and then we also, we have Jimmy Kimmel here in blackface. We've got Jimmy Fallon, Sarah Silverman. And don't forget, remember this, at the Democratic National Convention, they had Sarah Silverman speaking. And this was after she wore blackface. It'd be different if she spoke at the convention and then she did blackface. But no, she actually did it and they chose her. So, she's been fired for... other gigs since then, but not from the Democratic National Convention. So that just shows you kind of where they're at. We've got the Prime Minister of Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada. But we'll go through everybody in a future video. This is just about Howard Stern, but I was just kind of connecting the dots just to showing you how pervasive blackface is. We got Ben Stiller again, all right, within the industry. And notice everybody on here is millionaires. They're all multimillionaires, which shows that if you do blackface as an artist, you're going to get awards for it. See, look, he gets the MBE award. This is the highest award you can get. And look what he did, you know. And these guys too. Let's see, there's some more guys. You know, we see Tracy Ullman. She's got all types of Oscars. Look, she's done blackface numerous times. And she's even done, you know, racist Asian prosthetics on her face. Like fake epicanthic folds on her eyes and stuff like that. You know, just very racist things. All right, so we're going to go back to Howard Stern. All right, so now we're going to talk about this issue some more. So let's go to, let's see. Now, we're going back to the Chicago Tribune. All right, so now the video was brought to, let's see, so let me show this here. The video was brought to light by Donald Trump Jr., who retweeted the clip of the performance originally posted by filmmaker Tariq Nasheed, the president's son, and Stern had been in a public spat since the radio personality criticized President Donald Trump for mishandling the coronavirus pandemic and nationwide Black Lives Matter protests. So even so, not only did Tariq Nasheed come for him, this original video was by Donald Trump Jr. So I'm going to type Donald Trump Jr. So strangely enough, Donald Trump Jr. is actually an ally in this. So we're going to flip back around. I'm going to type, let's see, I'm going to type Donald. I'm just using one hand, so I can't type that fast. Trump, and then Jr. So I'm sure it'll pop up the Howard Stern stuff. So this is what pops up first. You type Donald Trump Jr. right now. What pops up is a bunch of different stuff, but I'm sure the Howard Stern stuff is going to pop up. Yeah, so this is just 5 hours ago. Donald Trump Jr. knocked CNN's Chris Cuomo over an interview with father. Oh, whoops. No, that's something else. Let's see. Where's the Howard Stern stuff? Oh, okay. Yeah, so Howard Stern answers Donald Trump Jr. after president's son retweets Sirius XM host. All right, because a lot of people are asking for him to be canceled. And, you know, all right, so let's read this article. So so I'm going to back up some so you can see more of it. All right, maybe we can see. So, yeah, the war of words between Howard Stern and his former friend, President Donald Trump, and the president's son. So remember, Donald Trump spoke on his show before multiple times. He's been on the Howard Stern show. He's also been on the Alex Jones show. You know, that was one of the reasons why Trump was able to rise and become president, was because a lot of his fans were, you know, a lot of people that didn't have a lot of representation before, whether it be it, you know, Howard Stern or, you know, Alex Jones. So he has a lot of Alex Jones supporters. All right, so now, yeah, so let's go back to where we were. So President Donald Trump and the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., escalated last weekend when Jr. retweeted a conservative missive that the Sirius XM broadcaster appeared in blackface and used the N-word multiple times in a pay-per-view New Year's Eve special in 1993. Trump Jr. has been jabbing at Stern since the radio host has spoken critically of his father's slow response to the pandemic and his polarizing comments in the wake of the George Floyd murder and subsequent protests. Stern, in turn, has jabbed back that Jr. has had everything handed to him by his famous father and has had no notable accomplishments on his own. Then Trump Jr. retweeted the clip of the performance. All right, so now let's see. So the clip was first posted by filmmaker Tariq Nasheed, and it was interspersed with Stern's recent appearance on The View, where he claimed during that appearance that he'd never used the racial slur. So we saw him lie on film. For the people that are new to what's happening, this is him on film
You use the
lying.
N-word a lot.
You did?
No, I
Really?
didn't. I used the N-word.
Yeah, you did.
Wait a second. Hold on
I
before you say
remember
that.
it.
Whoopi, hold on.
Wait.
No, we had a guy on from the Ku Klux Klan
Yes.
who very freely used the N-word.
Yes.
And my belief was, hey, say it out in the open.
Yes.
And I didn't use the N-word. Let's be very...
So he said he didn't use the N-word. So he's, Tariq Nasheed, very famous black filmmaker, caught him lying. And for those that don't know, racism. For those that don't know, recently Tariq Nasheed tried to exhibit his newest film, maybe his newest series of hidden color films, and in the UK, and they banned him from the UK. He's not allowed to show his movie there. So it just kind of shows, like be it George Johnson calling people, I think he said pickaninnies or something. He's called people racial slurs. And, we have Trudeau in blackface. We have, all over the world, there's a lot of political leaders, entertainers, celebrities, there's a lot of racism going on, right? So it seems like racism may be the majority within the entertainment industry. All right. Now, so let's see. So let's go back. We're going to flip back. All right. So let's see. Reactions. All right, let's go back to what Ebro's saying. I'm going to go to...
yesterday on this program. By the way, he's been disappointed. Let me be honest.
All right, so we're going to play some Ebro.
Millionaire. Because then, and if he was doing those skits now, he wouldn't feel the need to do that. He wouldn't go that far. But he made sure to say, this was interesting. He made sure to say, I am not apologizing.
I didn't see that part.
Wow.
So, and the reason I point out that is because there's something in you that when you offend a group, and you hurt someone, what is it about not apologizing?
And not apologizing. So now we're going to shout out to Sylvia. That's in the room. Shout out to Kudu. Shout out to the whole. Sylvia. I ran into D at Afropunk last year. So let's see. So now I'm going to type in sociopath. Sociopath. And we're just going to go into these definitions. So this is a very scientific. I'm not just spewing out opinions or anything like that. These are all just, real historical terms and real things that are actual real. So this is political science, social science. So sociopath, a person with a personality disorder manifesting itself in extreme antisocial attitudes and behavior and a lack of conscience. So when we see this blackface chart and we see, Howard Stern here with all these other celebrities, all right, so many of people's favorite celebrities. We got Diplo. A lot of people like Diplo. A lot of people like Justin Trudeau, and a lot of people like Mini-Me. The guy that played Mini-Me, and he was actually the person with the least amount of money on this chart. If you see, everybody's very, very rich. 12 million, 1 to 5 million, 26 million. Ted Danson's 80 million. Robert Downey Jr.'s 300 million. 350 million for Jimmy Kimmel. Oh no, I'm sorry, 35 million. I thought he would have been richer. And Jimmy Fallon, 70 million. But if we go back, so look, Die Antwoord, we got 10 million. But we're gonna do a whole thing on the future on Die Antwoord in the future. But these are just all a bunch of, a chart of a lot of racist celebrities that we're compiling to help the culture, to help the world understand who racist people are, so we can eliminate racism. Now, so yeah, this is going back to these Howard Stern ones. So this is Howard Stern in blackface on four multiple occasions, and the video that's being focused on by the media right now is this. Nobody's even talking about this video or this video or this video. So maybe they're saving that. Maybe the media is like, hey, we can be talking about this for the next 5 months, and maybe they're going to pull out these other videos, but we don't know. So let's go back to what Ebro was saying. All right, so we're going to go back to what he's saying, because he watched the whole, apology video. I'm not even going to play all that. Or not apology, I'm sorry, the whole response video, because he didn't apologize. That's what's important to understand.
Yeah, I don't know why people see apologizing as like either some sort of admission of guilt or weakness.
Well, from what you're saying, it didn't sound like he said he was wrong. He just said that he's grown. That's right. And that he wouldn't go that far anymore. That's right. So
he repeatedly said that he was crazy and he was doing things that were crazy.
Right.
But why wouldn't you apologize? Because
if you've already said you're crazy.
If I was crazy, I was in a different state of mind. I apologize. That's not the man who I am today. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, why wouldn't you just apologize for that?
Because he didn't say he was wrong. When he says he's not, he's not that same man. It sounds like to me, I just wouldn't do that publicly. I wouldn't do that anymore.
He knows his base, and he knows what'll happen if he apologizes.
Well, that's why I pointed out. So he's not. It also says to me that the group, here's the thing about it. The group that is offended by this and hurt the most is not that important to me.
All right. So to flip it around, shout out to everybody. My last video was on Qbert, and I don't want people to think I'm singing out Qbert, but, I'm focusing on all DJs and that are, or even producers too, because, we cover production, DJing, and rapping as well. So people that are within the sciences of DJing and rapping and just entertainment world in general, we're going to be covering that. We're going to cover Justin Bieber in the future, all those things. But all these things need to really be talked about and investigated thoroughly, and that's what this is. It's going to be a very thorough investigation where we go through a lot of the articles. A lot of these things are just coming out. All right, so we're going to flip back to this. All right. All right. Let's see.
That's what you got to pay attention to in these things. Y'all not that important for me to feel sorry. You don't carry that much weight. I don't have that much respect. And I'm not sorry.
All right. So and to bring it back to the last video with Qbert that we just released, now Qbert never apologized, and that's what's very important. So we're still waiting as a Turntablist community. We're still waiting for Qbert to apologize about all the stuff that he was saying. All the very fascist kind of alt-right kind of BTS kind of stuff that he was saying. Now, so and BTS, for those that don't know, BTS is a Korean music group, K-pop group that was wearing like Nazi outfits and Nazi hats and wearing things that look like, or holding flags that look like Nazi flags and things like that. So we're gonna watch some more of this. We're gonna flip back over.
That's how I interpret that.
I wonder if he'll stay with that as the days go on.
Let's say that's what he ran yesterday. I don't listen to Howard. I've never been a Howard listener. I appreciate how far he took the radio game. But I've never been a Howard Stern listener.
It's annoying, though, that he would come up short of saying that.
Is it?
I mean, I find
annoying.
It disappointing because I think that most people have liked his work so much and generally believe that he's, for many years now said things that people think is positive. So you would think that when he looks back and goes, man, in 1993, I was just trying to be this shock jock. I was out of control. I'm sorry for a lot of the things I said and did. I would never do that now. I think everyone would have been like, all right, cool, thank you.
Well, just the other week, he made sure to emphasize why he doesn't like. He even emphasized he doesn't dislike Trump. He dislikes the people that made Trump president.
Yeah,
and reemphasized that he's not a liberal.
So you think there's a lot of posturing to not go as far as to lose the most right-leaning people who follow him?
Yeah, and not only that, he's being true to himself. He's being true to where he comes from. That Long Island racist, white supremacist ish. I don't have to apologize to y'all. I don't have to be cool with y'all. Y'all not gonna do ish. You can't stop me. It's done. Signed, sealed, delivered. It's what it is. It's like Rush Limbaugh. They get awarded for holding the line of white supremacy.
I don't understand.
And so that's a very, very good point that he's bringing up. Awarded. So we see that he's worth $650 million. Now, everybody that we've logged on this Blackface chart so far, look, the woman from Jefferson Airplane Pilot, 20 million. I have all types of sets for the past 20 years. I've been playing White Rabbit for a very, very long time, and it's just very shocking to see her do blackface as well. But yeah, Seth Rogen, all you Seth Rogen fans, he had a black child wear blackface as an extra. So this kid was an extra, and the kid's already black, but he made them put blackface on a kid that was, that was already an extra for a black actor. And we got for all you Holy Mountain fans. We got, Alejandro, and he's, clearly doing blackface. But, we got Lucille Ball. There's so many. We're going to go through all 100 in the future in a whole video that's just about all 100 people. Right now, we're at like maybe 70 or something like that. But we're almost at 100. We'll be at 100 by the end of this month. And then we're going to release the video, release this whole chart as well, because it's very, very extensive. Even got Dr. Seuss on here. A lot of people don't know about the Dr. Seuss blackface stuff. All right. And we're also going to cover Aphex Twin. All right. We're going to cover him. This is a video that he did with Die Antwoord. But yeah, so the problem is pervasive, and you see it. Look how much Aphex is worth. Aphex is worth 12 million. You see Johnny Carson's worth 300 million. It's just, the list just goes on. Fred Astaire's worth 10 million. right? Sam Newman for people that from Australia, you know. We got Ben Stiller's worth let's see, 200 million. So back to the video. So he's saying, you know, everybody's well rewarded for being racist. You can see that it doesn't ruin people's career. You would think that wearing blackface would actually ruin somebody's career, or they'd be afraid to do it. But from this chart, we've actually proven that, because we weren't just singling out people that were millionaires. Anybody that was caught doing blackface, we just put them on this chart, and they all happen to be multimillionaires. Not even just like, you know, the average net worth might be like 10, 15 million, you know. And we see them getting the most excellent British award or whatever, sir, not knighted, but you know, whatever this award is, this MBE award. We see that the British Empire is giving people accolades for spreading propaganda against Black people and Asian people as well. We see this guy is doing Asian stereotypes and putting fake epicanthic folds in his eyes and being very, very racist. All right, and we see that he won that. So this guy won that award. And where's the other guys that won those awards? These guys, yeah, these fools. I don't even know who Ant and Dec are. You know, for people from the UK, they probably know. But you see, you know, this is a very people ask like, oh, well, why are you covering this stuff? You're a DJ academy. You're focused on DJ sciences. Well, we're focusing on political and social sciences that relate to DJing and rapping and hip hop culture, just, you know, pop culture in general. And we can see that, you know, people tend to ridicule Black people in the hip hop context, and people tend to ridicule Asian people, right? You see that as well. So there's a lot of hatred going coming from the Caucasian community. And in other videos, you know, we'll talk about Treaty of Grenada and why there's been a 400-year war on Black people in general. But now we're just kind of keeping it focused on Howard Stern. All right, so let's go back to Howard Stern. We got Bette Midler over there. For those who haven't seen Bette Midler rolling up to a show with a friend in blackface. All right. Now, all right, so we're going to play a little bit more of this.
And I mean, listen, I guess he's been rich for a long time, but he grew up to working class Jewish parents from Long Island. Doesn't mean they're not racist, but white supremacists is a different level. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, his dad was a regular immigrant who worked in radio.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they don't support white supremacy and the idea that there are people that are under them, less than them, because of who they are, because of their European blood. It doesn't mean that they don't support that ideal. Now, I'm not saying they're signing up to Nazi groups and going out here starting drama, but the idea of white supremacy isn't just relegated to some organized crime unit that's terrorizing people of color. It's an idea.
Right, that seeps into the way you operate.
And so your unwillingness to say that you're sorry tells me that...
Jonathan, yeah, you said, how about Robert Downey Jr.? Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. is on this chart. He's at the top. He was what, 1, 2, 3. He was the fourth person, because I was just going off the top of my head when I was first doing the chart, but since then I've been having to do extensive research. But yeah, Robert Downey Jr., yeah, we'll be focusing on him in the future. But this is not, somebody said satire. Yeah, a lot of people try to use satire as a defense, and we're going to look up, that's a very good point. So let's look up satire. I'm going to type in, let's see, satire. So we're going to type in satire, and we're going to talk about what satire is. So satire, the definition is the use of humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule to expose and critique people's stupidity or vices, particularly in the context of contemporary politics and other topical issues. So, you know, mockery, ridicule, you know, so this is very, very, you know, these things, caricature, right? So let's type caricature. We're going to click on caricature, right? So these are caricatures, right? Caricatures like, oh, it's a funny drawing of somebody. But, you know, caricatures, I'm going to type caricature black. Oh, look, they're already giving suggestions. Caricature black girl. I'm not trying to have defined, but let's see. Caricature. Google's suggesting that I was just going to say black person, but Google's wants me to have black women. Okay, so that's caricature. All right. So I guess they've, so look, we've got these here. Right, so these are caricatures. So now within art, so you know, Jonathan was pointing out the point of satire. People use that as a defense, we're going to flip back around. So people use satire as a defense and say, oh, satire, it's art. But what I was pointing out to a homie of mine in a debate about the blackface subject, and I think he was trying to defend, this was a black American person trying to defend somebody who I've worked with in the past, try to defend the Robert Downey thing. And he's saying, oh, satire, this and that. But I was telling him that the thing about the whole satire defense is that satire exists within art. But art isn't real. Art's not real. What is real is outside of the art world, and the culture and the lasting images and the lasting So if I say if I talk about, let's say, like Blazing Saddles or Spaceballs, we'll cover Mel Brooks and all that type of stuff in the future too. But if you're using satire as an excuse, then that's just saying that, well, art is art and people can do whatever they want. And that's kind of what the All Lives Matter movement is kind of saying, like, hey, people should be able to do whatever they want. Everybody matters. Everything is kind of equal. There's no disparities. But that's the problem, is when you eliminate the disparities and you just kind of say everything's all equal and make everything subjective and say it's all satire, then it excuses people and lets people get away with crimes or things that lead to crimes, because this is actually a mental illness. It's actually sociopathic illness. So we're going to flip back around. All right, so we see caricatures, so that you can have a positive caricature. Well, I wouldn't say this is necessarily positive. This one is positive because I'm pro natural hair. But let's see. So we got the negative caricatures, like we've got this, right? We've got a common Pickaninny kind of caricature. But so caricature can be kind of much anything. Let's go back to sociopath. All right, and we're going to go, what is the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath, right? Because many racists are psychopaths, but a lot of these people aren't psychopaths because they're celebrities and, they, at least have the sense to be able to not wild out, right? A psychopath is somebody that's wilding out. So Jonathan says very sexualized, though. I'm not sure what you mean by that. But yeah, so I'm speaking about this as a mental illness. So we're going to look at the difference between being a sociopath and a psychopath. So you may have heard people call someone else a psychopath or a sociopath, but what do those words really mean? You won't find the definitions in Mental Health's official handbook. Let's skip this. A sociopath typically has a conscience, but it's weak. He may know that taking your money is wrong, and he might feel some guilt or remorse, but that won't stop his behavior. All right, so that's all these people right here. They know they know that it's insensitive, and they like it, and they're making money off of it, and they're proud of it. They're proud of being racist. So let's see. So both lack of empathy and the ability to stand in someone else's shoes and understand how they feel. But a psychopath has less regard for others. All right. Now, so let's, they're not giving very good definitions on here, so we're just going to type in actual psychopath. We're going to type in psychopath. So that's psychopath. There we go. So psychopath. All right. So we're going to see what a psychopath. Psychopath is traditionally a personality disorder characterized by persistent antisocial behavior, impaired empathy and remorse, and bold, disinhibited, and egotistical traits. It is sometimes considered synonymous with sociopathy. All right. So now when you look at all these, celebrities on this chart, you got to think about, okay, well, how did they become celebrities? How did they get to these, very, very limited positions of power? Many of these people didn't start with money. A lot of them did start with money, but a lot of them didn't, or they didn't start definitely with as much money as they have. So you got to think, they were able, so some of these people are obviously sociopaths, and some of these people are also psychopaths too. The ones that the ones that have the, management that's a lot more kind of strict on their team that can help, maintain them, then those psychopaths can be maintained, while the sociopaths are able to, have their own household in order. They don't need somebody else to keep their house in order. But most of these people are probably not totally out of touch with reality. They're very, very conscious of what they're doing. They're not just a deranged person on the street, you know, because when people speak of a psychopath, they're generally talking about like a deranged person on the street. But these people are deranged, you know. Sociopathy is a form of derangement. These are obviously all deranged people. Somebody that would, an actual married couple, they just got canceled now off of Netflix, and we'll cover that too. But yeah, these people, I'll put the link to that with Netflix. Just canceled them this week. Within the past couple of days, Netflix just canceled this couple, and look how much they're worth. $50 million. I never heard of these people. It's like I never heard of half of these people, and you know they're worth $50 million. You know, so it's a very, very serious issue. And I do want to. I'm going to go to one of the reasons why I'm doing this. I'm going to go. Let's see. We're going to find the last video that we just posted about Qbert and his racialized, racist stuff that he is also not apologizing for.
Flip over.
The Candace Owens, all that stuff. But we're gonna go to this one. Somebody wrote. Let's see. What did somebody wrote? Somebody said. Why don't you just stick to, you know, because if you notice, this is the comments. Everybody right now in the comment section is pretty much pro All Lives Matter. There's only one person that's like, damn, this is depressing. You know, this is like the one person that's, you know, even though, you know, 20 people have liked it so far and 10 people hate it, it just shows that the people that are commenting on the net tend to be, you know, more right wing and kind of 4chan people. So I've been telling all these people kind of go back to 4chan, go back to 8chan or wherever you come from, you know. So let's see. So where can I find this one comment? So let's see this reply. No, not that reply. Let's see. There we go. Here we go. So it says, this is some BS. He can support whatever he wants and like stop dividing people because it's racist. So I'm actually calling out racism by making this video, and this person's actually calling it racist, and that's a common tactic that white supremacists do. They try to flip it and they try to make it seem like the person that's calling out racism is the racist. But I just wanted to read this last part here that I just wrote. The person said, you know, people should be able to support, you know, whoever they should be able to support. So I'm going to read this. I agree with Christoph. Qbert can show love or support with whoever he chooses. All lives means all lives, all colors and creeds, not singling out any class or individual. But we know that's not the case. We know that it's a new reactionary group. I mean, a reactionary movement. You know, that's a reactionary movement that was created to kind of candy coat things and gloss over racism and say that everybody gets treated everybody gets discriminated equally. So I replied, I said, hip hop music and politics have always been intertwined. Oh no, let me finish what the person said. So let's see. So let's go to where I just was. All lives means all lives, all colors, all creeds. All right. Now, the real racists are the ones who like to make examples of singular instances in history. History is factually proven to be full of violence committed by all races. So they're saying everything's equal, everybody's messed up, everybody's making satire, you know, like to bring back the satire thing, everybody's hurting people or doing things, you know, everybody makes satire, everybody hurts people. It's all equal. So that's part of a racist ploy to hide what they're doing. Because let's continue to read this. I thought that your channel was about techniques and methods, not politics, bruv. And, you know, that's a common thing to call a black man bro or bruv, bruvva, you know, when they're kind of being condescending. When, you know, I'm not sure where this person's from. Stick to the music, eh? Right? It sounds like they're maybe from, you know, Canada or Australia, the fact that they're adding a. And I've experienced a lot of racism out there, in Canada at least. And Australia, I haven't been there yet, but it's not on my first choice of places to go because of the extreme racism. You know, Aborigines were just what were considered flora and fauna up until like the 70s. And shout out to CX Kidtronics for putting me onto that. So yeah, so I wrote at Brian Mack, hip hop music and politics have always been intertwined. Also, it's only up to black people to determine what racism is. The roots of racism are strong in the DJ industry. We're not going to stick to anything. We're going to deal with any subject that relates to improving the mind, body, and soul of turntablists, i.e. giving them the tools to help them in their journey as a DJ. So this is TTM Academy. This is a video for TTM Academy for those that are watching. You must not have heard our lectures on genre segregationism. Many DJs that are black or women or Muslim or Arab or dark skinned experience a lot of racism and sexism in the DJ industry, including turntablism. Thus, as an academy, we are here to make sure that racism and sexism and ignorance in general are eliminated from hip hop. And that was one of the reasons why we took on this task of making this chart, is to be able to, really figure out who's who. Who are people that are outwardly being racist, because we don't know what people do in their private homes, right? We don't know what people say when they get home, or what organizations or lodges or communities or frats or sororities, fraternities. We don't know what they're involved in. But when somebody makes a public image, we do know that they're politically saying, like, hey, I'm wearing blackface, that person is clearly a racist. So, it's hard to say, like, oh, is that person a racist? Is that person a racist? But anybody that's wearing blackface, we can all agree that person's a racist. So that's why this chart was kind of created. There was never a chart like this before, where you would see, blackface pop up in the media, but then, then it gets forgotten. And, all these things are just articles that we all kind of see in the stream, but we never see people piecing everything together. So that's what this chart was made for. It's a more mathematical, statistical look at the net worth of the people relative to the people that are doing these blackface things. Okay, so let's go back. And for the people that are just coming in, we're going to go back to the actual quote. We're going to play some more of it.
Hey, Whoopi Road, what does you call a black rocket scientist?
I don't know.
A nigger. Whoopi Road. I want you to give us a kiss, you smelly coghead coon. I love
May
you.
I say something here?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you can say whatever
All right,
you want.
so now that we see that this is the guy from George Jefferson, we would call, most people would call him like a sellout, or this is coonery or whatever. And it's very important to realize that what's going on with people that are dealing with coonery and sellouts, and some people say Negropean. That's a more modern word of people that are black people that are assisting racist people hurt other people. So the guy that played George Jefferson, I forget his name as an actor, he's assisting a racist in a racist act that hurts the lives of black people, because teachers that are watching that show, truck drivers, cops, anybody, employers, HR people that may be hiring people, anybody that's watching that. Oh, shout out Roxy Summers in the house. We got Roxy in the house. Anybody, and Roxy, we're going to be going through history and DJ history and exposing DJs and other entertainers that are committing racist acts against of people. And being that you're on this thread and you used to be Diplo's manager, just alerting you that Diplo is on this chart as well. So we're going to go to the Diplo section. So yeah, Diplo. This is Diplo and Blackface. Diplo actually had Jesse Jackson on his website with blonde hair, and it said "How You Like Me Now" N-word, and I had called him out back in the day in the MySpace days, and he tried to get me deleted on MySpace, and but he actually ended up erasing the Jesse Jackson thing where it was like "How You Like Me Now" N-word, and it's Jesse Jackson, and he's wearing blackface, and I called him out on the whole Major Lazer racism stuff. This was when it was just him and Switch in the band, and they were using Caribbean stereotypes and making making fun of Jamaican people. And we'll do that. That's a whole nother video. We'll do a whole Diplo thing in the future. We're gonna do Diplo. We're gonna do Die Antwoord. We're really gonna go in. So yeah, shout out to Spencer. Yep, Diplo's definitely a tool. But shout out to Roxy. She's a dedicated DJ, and I know that you were managing him in the early days when it was just Hollertronics and it was him and Low Budget. But what's funny is that Diplo came at me and he was like, "Oh, you look like a low budget son." He's like, "You're like a low budget Sun Ra," and he called me that or something on MySpace back in the day. And I think I replied to Diplo like, "No, I thought Low Budget was your homie." or something like that. You know, just stupid stuff. But I came at him. I came at him for being racist towards Caribbean people, Jamaican people. You know, because I'm actually my people are from Mississippi, and you know, I'm coming from I'm a Black Native American from the Mississippi River, the ancient Mississippi River Delta civilization, and it's right on the Caribbean. And you know, so seeing tropes of Caribbean people being made fun of is not cool. You know, so yeah, so that was just a little side note because I saw that Roxy stepped in the house, but shout out to everybody that's watching. Shout out to Drew Crypto. But yeah, so I'm going to flip back around. So yeah, let's get back to where we were. So yeah, that's Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of, Canada. That just shows how pervasive blackface is. You know, we've got from prime ministers to, Die Antwoord. And what's really sad about Die Antwoord, we're going to do a whole expo on them, a whole, maybe 2-hour video on them, because there's a lot of stuff that they've done. The thing about them is that I was at a hotel once in Mississippi, and I was looking at, it was like they had the Africa section for like hip hop, and they were the Die Antwoord, this group right here that's doing blackface, was the thumbnail for the African hip hop section. Like they represented African hip hop, and because they are the biggest African hip hop group. So a white supremacist group in 2020, the biggest hip hop group is a white supremacist group. And, I actually called out Alex English from, that's a promoter. He was doing Boys and Girls. And, More Tools. Exactly. These are all tools. These are all white supremacists, and even this guy from Germany. He's one of the only ones that doesn't really have he's not a millionaire. But everybody else is pretty much millionaires in the chart, except some of the, like, maybe smaller politicians, like local politicians that are on the chart. But so Die Antwoord, them being the biggest hip hop group, we're gonna look at some of their numbers. If you I'm gonna type Die Antwoord. This is just to show you that how big racism is and how big. So I'm gonna type Die Antwoord, and then I'm gonna type. Let's see. So I'm gonna type Die, and it's actually this is the video. This is the blackface video. We're gonna see how big this video actually is. So let's see. This video's got 62 million views, and they're monetizing it. So they're making money off of this video right here. This video where she's wearing blackface for the whole video, right? So, that video right now has, and who put that out? Noisy put that out. And who is Noisy owned by? Does anybody know who Noisy's owned by? Pop quiz. Anybody know who? Vice. So this is what I've been saying. Everybody that's posting Vice articles, you guys are contributing to white supremacy. Because see, what a lot of people don't realize is that when you want to enslave someone or hurt someone, or you're a sex trafficker, or you're mentally trafficking somebody, what they use is they use what's called hedging. All right, and we're gonna look up what hedging is. So. Vice, exactly, Spencer. Yeah, Vice magazine, Vice Industries monetizes this. They make money off of blackface, and nobody's come for them. Nobody. So I'm coming for them next, but I need to do some more research. There's a lot of stuff they've done, and so that's gonna be a whole nother video. But so look, they've got 62 million views. And they've done multiple videos with blackface. This is just one of their videos with blackface. But yeah, you can see Noisy right there. We got Vice, and I'm going to let it play. I'm gonna turn this off, but I'm just gonna fast forward to the part where it gets into the blackface, so you can see, just how pervasive blackface is. Every angle, almost any celebrity that's a multimillionaire that's in the news, is most of them have done blackface. But we're gonna skip ahead to just like an instance like this. Whoops. See, they wear white paint in the video too, to try to be like, oh, we're just wearing different colors and different things, and black just happens to be one of the colors. But let's see, where was it? Oh, here it is. Okay, right here. This is a good spot. Let's see. There we go. Right there. So yeah, so this is her in blackface. And right, so we've got, this is just a very, very, very insensitive, racist thing. And right, you're right, Spencer. It's a very corny mag, very, very corny magazine. But the thing is that they've been able to corner the market on so-called woke culture. And, you know, everybody that's forwarding you know, Vice stuff, they're supporting all this stuff. And so we're going to look up the term hedge, what hedge means. So we're going to look up hedging. So H-E, hedge. All right, so not hedgehog, just hedge. So a hedge is an investment that protects your finances from a risky situation. Hedging is done to minimize or offset the chance that your assets will lose value. It also limits your loss to a known amount if the asset does not lose value. Right? So that's hedging in a financial context. Now, in a sociological context, hedging is when you're saying you want to control both sides of the market. Or, I mean, you want to, like, if something goes up, you're going to make money. You're going to, something goes down, something's going to make money. That's within the financial world. But if you're taking it to the sociological world, so if you're doing racist stuff, you're going to do the racist stuff that's making you money. But then you're also going to do some woke stuff to, you know, to also make you money and protect your racism and balance things out. So that's what Vice magazine kind of is for white supremacy. Vice magazine is, and we'll cover them in the future too. We'll do, you know, specific exposés just on Vice magazine. But this is about, you know, more so about Howard Stern. But I'm just giving a background of how pervasive it is and how media outlets, you know, contribute to this. All right, so let's flip back. So we just talked about hedging. All right, so let's see. What is a hedging strategy? A hedging strategy is a set of measures designed to minimize the risk of adverse movements in the value of assets or liability. Hedging strategies usually involve taking an offsetting position for the related asset or liability. So the offset in this case would be, you know, Vice magazine. You know, I don't know if any of y'all ever read it over the years. They used to have articles where they would say, like, you know, they had a fashion section that would say, you know, do's and don'ts. And, you know, anytime somebody wore a swastika, which is a, you know, a racist, traditional symbol that represents the Holocaust and the Nazis and all that type of stuff. I'm not talking about the original older swastikas, but I'm just talking about the modern use of them. So yeah, Vice magazine is making money off of that. Diane Antwer's making money off of that. And, you know, all this stuff is just coming from every angle. Because as you can see, everybody on here is coming from, you know, all different angles. Comedians, entertainers. We got Lady Gaga in blackface. Everybody, there's a celebrity. Everybody has somebody or a movie that they like or a song that they like where somebody's done blackface. It's almost impossible to escape it. You know, like if you're in Canada, your prime minister has done blackface. It's literally impossible to escape blackface. Right, so that's what we're dealing with this issue. So we're gonna type in something new. Before we were just typing in Howard Stern. Now we're gonna type in Howard Stern blackface or Howard Stern racist. I'm gonna type Howard Stern racist. All right, and see if anybody actually calls him racist within the actual title. Howard Stern responds to controversy over resurfaced blackface performance. Howard Stern responds to blackface. Howard Stern under fire. See, everything is kind of still protecting him. He's under fire. Video resurfaces of shock jock donning blackface. So it's just more of a shock. It's not, you know. So let's see. Let's go to Howard Stern addresses resurfaced video. And let's see. Let's play some of this. Okay, so let's see. Is it the actual? Okay, so he's just writing the address. Let's see. I'd rather see the video of it. But let's see. So let's go back. All right, so let's see. Howard Stern responds. CNN. All right, let's see. All right, and for those that are new to this, that are just come in, like Roxy, this is what we're talking about. So let's put
Whoopi wrote that.
That's it, Ted. You didn't know I was going to say that. Whoopi had no chance to write it. I don't accept that kind of language. You can call her whatever you want, but you don't talk to me that way or I'll leave.
Well, don't let the door hit you on your big black ass, mama, on the way out of here. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. Now, Whoopi, you is a filthy nigger.
I didn't like that.
Well, you is a smelly nigger, so what's the difference?
All right, so now the reason I keep playing that is because we got new people coming into the audience, and oh yeah, shout out to Mr. Younger, and we got Mr. Castro, amazing jewelry designer, who's just featured in Forbes recently. So yeah, now what I'm going to type in is I'm going to type in Stockholm syndrome. Stockholm syndrome. Okay, so Stockholm syndrome. So Stockholm feelings or trust or affection felt in many cases of kidnapping or hostage taking by a victim towards a captor. So so Stockholm syndrome is dealing with when somebody is captured, as far as like a sex trafficking or a slave, somebody that's enslaved. So it's talking about that. But Stockholm syndrome also implies to people who have been mentally or psychologically kidnapped or a psychological hostage. So this is what we're talking about now. This is part of Hollywood white supremacy is being a psychological hostage. Like I love Dan Aykroyd movies and as a kid growing up and all that stuff, but then it's like boom, here he is in blackface. I always thought Mini-Me was funny, but then I saw the movie with him in blackface, right? So, we can just see it's a very, very pervasive thing, and Stockholm Syndrome is a real thing. The reason why Jimmy Fallon is still on the air, or why the Democratic National Convention would, have Sarah Silverman speak after she did this blackface, is because of Stockholm Syndrome. They're keeping, they want people to identify with their captors. And by captor, I mean someone that's your psychological captor. By psychological captor, we can look at this and we see, he's imitating a black woman, yet black women and black men or Caucasian people still support him. He's being very, very racist right here. He's making himself overweight, and making fun of obesity in the black community. There's just so many levels of what's being done. We got Sia right here. And, it's interesting. I have a friend, DJ, or not DJ, a producer named Belief, and who, we used to, work on some stuff back in the 90s together, making beats. I was learning how to make beats. He taught me how to do some production type of stuff. And, he produced for like Murs and a lot of people. And he's a big producer for Sia now. And I think he's one of Sia's main producers now. He had a big hit with her, and they're both, he's very rich now. But yeah, Richard D. James, very, very sad with the Aphex Twin, Warp Records. I actually contacted Steven Christian at Warp Records because, me and Steven used to do parties together, and we were friends back in the day, and he's got a pretty key position at Warp Records now. For those that don't know, I used to DJ for Tess, and he used to be signed to Warp Records. When he was signed to Lex Records, which was a division of Warp Records, their hip hop label. But this is Aphex Twin, multiple instances of blackface. This is him actually. This is not actually him. It's a black man in this costume of his prosthetic mask or whatever that was made. Made in his likeness, the same masks that are used in these videos. I think Chris Cunningham may have made these masks. Chris Cunningham is also known has also used Nazi propaganda in some of his live video shows. Some of his shout out, we got another legend in the house, DJ Disc. So yeah, we're focusing on on people in the entertainment industry that are doing blackface, but really primarily we're focusing on, this is about Howard Stern and DJs in general, just DJs and racism. So our last video we covered, Q-Bert's racism. This video we're covering Howard Stern. So Howard Stern is a DJ. Now I've always looked at DJing as a spectrum. So you can look at DJing science kind of like a lot like life sciences, where on the end of the spectrum, the turntablists are cutting up the smallest pieces, kind of like physicists. So we're doing the most complex stuff. And then on the other end of the spectrum, the people that are doing the least are like people like Howard Stern that are programmers, radio programmers. And just instead of actually, dropping the record or dropping the needle, they're just creating a playlist and they're talking, and it's talk radio, and, their interns or whoever are actually lining up the songs and actually playing the songs. So the songs are inconsequential to what what the show is. The show is about Howard Stern talking and what he does. And so Howard Stern is a DJ, and that's why we're doing this investigation on DJs and racism. So this is part 2 of the series, and this is Howard Stern that we're dealing with. And so it's important to note that since he's not touching the turntable and he's just programming, it overlaps into programming and mental programming. Because if you're programming the radio, obviously you're also programming, people with different ideas and different concepts. So he's a programmer host and he's putting out propaganda. So we're going to look at that. All right. So we're going to look at, so we see him in that video. All right. So for those that know, we're going to play a little bit more of this video that people that are just coming in.
Look, you two, don't you think you're going to ruin your career this way?
No. What's wrong with you? This here routine is showing people that we is not afraid to confront our racial stereotypes. Look.
And she said, and she made a good point. Is this going to ruin your career? And look at it. Obviously, it doesn't ruin your career, right? It doesn't. All these people are getting the highest award you can get. So if you're a young kid and you want to become famous, doing some racist stuff is definitely going to make you famous, right? So we got Justin. I thought it was Justin Bieber. That's so funny. But I'm going to put the Justin Bieber stuff up here too. But yeah, people are, look, the highest award that you can get. So obviously doing blackface, this chart shows that it's not going to get you, it's going to make you even richer. All these people have done it. We got Vern, everybody's done it. All right. But so yeah, let's go back.
Look at here. We as a nation are racist, and we must break through that barrier that we done constructed for ourselves. Can't you see that? Can't you see that, you little rib breath?
All right. So that was just one example of Howard Stern. Now we see that so the media is only showing this one example. They're only focusing on this particular video, but we've got this video of him as impersonating a judge with prosthetic features on. We've got him impersonating black people in multiple other instances. This looks like it's from a long time ago. These are all a long time ago, but some of them older than others. But yeah, so let's go back. All right. And we're going to type in, we got the Howard Stern. All right. Let's see. So I think I typed Howard Stern racist. Let's see. Howard Stern racist. So let's see. Howard Stern racist. All right. There we go. Howard Stern racist. All right. So we're back now. So we did the CNN article. All right. So this is a thorough investigation. Now, let's see. CNN, we did CNN. All right, so you see, there's still not a lot of articles on this, and this is also interesting too. Howard Stern on demand. I'm sorry, not that one. It says Howard Stern calls staffer racist for linking BTS to coronavirus. So this is kind of interesting because this is earlier this year. Like the whole pot calling the kettle black thing, him being a clear white supremacist, calling somebody else, racist. A lot of times, you could see that he's kind of trying to maybe hide his kind of things that he's done in the past by calling out other people. All right. So, all right. Now let's go to his, we're going to go to images, Howard Stern racist images. All right. So we see most articles are only showing this one thing. So we can see that they're actually helping him. They're actually helping him conceal all the other instances of blackface by only showing 1, maybe 2, right? But I just showed you 4 of them. And who knows? There might be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Who knows? There might be 100. But, we see 2 instances here, right? But you have to really search. I had to really search to find all those other ones. You really can't, they don't even show them here. They're only showing the guy from the Jeffersons, right? And, but yeah, you can find this one too. So let's see what this one is. We're going to click on that. So this is just an investigation.
I love working with them.
This is an organic investigation. So we're gonna. Oh, there we go.
That's a slang name. Brother Abduli Malik Halim is a name for Petey Gray.
Racial jokes are just funny, like farts. They're always funny.
I know what you mean. Like there are jokes that say, like Oswald Green or something.
Or a Pollock, Polish person stuff. Right.
I'm saying the first thing your mind goes to is that Robin's a monkey.
Without further ado.
So Robin is a host on his show, and he's just called her a monkey. Like this is completely racist, completely unacceptable. And, but people once again, people that have the Stockholm syndrome, we'll go back to Stockholm syndrome. I'm going to type Stockholm Syndrome. Let's see. Let's get that back open. I'm going to start keeping these windows open so I don't have to go back. Feeling or trust or affection felt in many cases of kidnappers or hostage taking by a victim toward a captor, right? So just as someone can be enslaved physically, someone can be mentally enslaved and still feel the same feelings. So this is why people love, Robert Downey Jr. They'll love him up and down because they love Iron Man, they love, Avengers. And, when you love something or somebody, it's hard to, stop consuming whatever things that you love, or stop supporting them or going against them. So you go with the flow. And that's what part of systematic racism is and I don't even want to say systematic racism, because that's what racism has, systematic vices within it. So it's not even that there's racism and there's non-systematic racism. All racism is connected to the system because the system helps disseminate it. All right. And this is a type of system, which is, the Hollywood kind of white supremacist warlocks and witches of Hollywood that, and we'll talk about all that type of stuff in the future. We'll get into, people like L. Ron Hubbard and all that type of stuff, and also Crowley and just white power magic in general, because a lot of white supremacy is actually a subset of Satanism and subset of kind of Crowleyism and Madame Blavatsky and a lot of the roots of and Pike too, of white power masonry and just different groups of elite Caucasian people ruling over and ridiculing and intimidating poorer peoples and black peoples, So, all right, so let's go back to that. So now let's go to this. We'll finish this.
I'd like to present.
So this is my first time seeing this. Like I took a screenshot of the instances of blackface, but I never have seen the actual video, this particular video.
The latest nominee to the United States Supreme Court, the Honorable Clarence Thomas.
Boonga boonga. Now, I'm just trying to improve my image. The black people are against me because they say that I'm not a real black man. I want to say to them and to all you that I am proud to be here. I would like to say that I am cognizant of black people, and I would like to be the head muckety-muck of the Supreme Judiciary Continuum. That's right.
I understood you to be a very conservative and well-educated.
Hey, what am this? The Montel Williams show? This bit was not my idea.
Just whose idea was it?
Hey, Robin, you see, it was your idea. I'm no longer going to get lynched. And your idea to dress me up like a Supreme Muckety Muck.
No, wait a minute.
Now, let me tell you something.
Should I refer to you as Your Honor?
Excuse me, if anybody mad at this sketch, I want you to contact Ralph the makeup man who gave me these oversized lips. Now, what is this?
Well, what would you like to say to black people?
Never mind the black people, to all you people out there, you see this positive article we got from the New York Post? Well, you can be sure next week's article will not be this positive.
Excuse me, but that is not you in that photograph.
Let me tell you something. We're going to be in trouble with the NAAMP, the ECOC, and the EIEIO. That's right. Now, look here.
You're changing your image. You want to relate to black.
I want to relate to the black people. Tell them not to fear me on the Supreme Court justice. Now, look here,
I
sunshine.
can't even understand what you're saying.
I said, look here, sunshine. A lot of people
My
wearing...
name is Robin.
Yes, I know that.
You're missing the point that immediately the only thing that's obvious to you about me is I'm black.
Hey, who painted this face? Oh, Shine?
By the way, Your Honor, I didn't realize it, but you have blue eyes.
I knew I was smoking too much of this.
No,
Gary's got big lips, and all of a sudden he's a monkey. How come we could put Gary down for years?
Of a personal trait. The only trait that I have that you
Don't
think
even
to
get into
comment
this.
on is my blackness.
And then also another issue is him ridiculing black people with so when we have at least four different instances of Howard Stern wearing blackface, and we've got there's another instance where the guy, I forget his name, that his one of his hosts, we have Robin here, but he's also physically and mentally challenged. he's making fun of a mentally challenged black person that he has on his show. Let's see, I forget the guy's name, but let's see, I'm going to type how the gentleman has the disorder. I'm not sure what the actual medical terminology for the disorder is when, I guess hydrocephaly is when the head is too big. His head is very small, so maybe it's, I'm not sure what it is, but when somebody has a very, very small head, people would call them pinheads in the past. But let's see, I'm going to type Howard Stern cast. So we just saw that Robin in his cast, her being kind of a self-hating black person, allowing him to, self-hating black person with Stockholm syndrome, allowing, him to degrade her in front of his face, all under the guise of satire, right? And people, once again, we spoke about satire and went up and we looked at the definition, and satire being, a form of ridicule that people make kosher or whatever. But yeah, so let's flip it back around. So this is Beetlejuice. This is a guy that, I'm going to type Howard Stern. I'm going to type Howard Stern Beetlejuice. Let's see. I'm going to type Howard Stern Beetlejuice. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to type for a video. So this is Beetlejuice. This is a gentleman who's on his show, that they have on his show because of his kind of look, that he's physically, mentally challenged, and they kind of make fun of him on the show, and they have him as like a mascot. So for those that don't know, I've only seen the Howard Stern show maybe like 10 times or something, because it used to be on like E when I was a kid back in the day, and they would play it on E, and I would watch that. But so let me see, I'm going to type videos. All right, we're going to see Beetlejuice on Howard Stern. All right, Beetlejuice gets new teeth. See, like, the videos don't stop, He's probably had 1,000. He's probably had 1,000 episodes.
And you cheer them up?
Oh, cheer them up all the time.
Did you ever meet anyone who's dying, or?
Oh yeah, little kids. Yeah.
Everything. What do you charge a little kid who's dying?
This goes there.
$20, $100. What do you give?
I'll give him $100.
He gives you $100, or you give him $100?
I'll give him $100.
Oh, so how do you make money at that?
Hey, keep the kids alive.
Then pay later.
Are you ever asked to pull the plug on anyone? Like they said, go in, the guy's suffering.
No, never pull the plug on a guy.
All right. Beetlejuice now specializes in bedside hospital visits. To book him, go to Jolly Dwarf.
Okay, somebody correct me. It's microcephaly, right? Microcephaly. So this gentleman's dealing with microcephaly, and yeah. So Howard Stern has him on multiple episodes, always just making fun of him and asking him stupid questions, and even sometimes they do they'll be actually doing like, they'll make him dress up and do stupid things and have him in stupid scenarios, and just making fun of him as they were doing hundreds of years ago, or not even hundreds of years, just 100 years ago. And we'll talk about that stuff in the future, but I'm gonna press play.
Oh, look at this piece of shit.
So they've made this guy a superstar, a celebrity. And obviously right-wing people are probably, and left-wing people too, just racist people in general are supporting this.
What's up, buddy?
What's going on?
I like your jersey, man.
You like my jersey, you piece of shit?
Yeah. The Super Bowl champion Green Bay Packers.
That's right, bro. That's right.
Oh, that's a Lakers jersey. My fault.
That's right.
See, the thing is, they're not laughing with him, they're laughing at him. Every time he appears in the show, they're laughing at this guy.
Lakers, boy.
Come on, right this way, man. So what's new, Beat?
Nothing new, brother. Look, it's chilling.
I like your new haircut.
My new haircut.
Yeah. It's different from the last time I saw you.
Yeah. Yeah. What's going, babe? Bitch, get out of here with that glasses. That fucking mask. Fuck you. That's good. What is that?
So not only is Howard Stern ridiculing black people in general and black women, he's also ridiculing people with deformities or people with disabilities or people, he's ridiculing little people. It's case after case, and the media is not covering any of this. Notice that they're only showing that one image. So let's go back. All right, now we're going to go back to that other video we were just watching. So that was just a little side note about Beetlejuice. I wanted to put that in there. All right, so we're going to continue to play this.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
It's so good to see you, sweetie.
Oh, those lips, those lips.
I'll tell you something. I want to make things better for the black man in this country, starting with me. I don't see nothing wrong with that.
Don't you think that's a little selfish?
Robin, how soon are we going to hear from the NAACP on
I
this?
think they're on the phone now, they're here.
So if you've noticed, he's mentioned NAACP, he's mentioned, he's gone Clarence Thomas, a lot of racism, a lot of Caucasian, white supremacy racism is focused on targeting other black political figures, black celebrities, so that they can bring them down and then so they can make themselves look better. See, a lot of what the purpose of what a lot of Hollywood racism is in the long run is very, very simple. And we're going to go into Frances Cress Welsing. And why would somebody do this? Why would somebody want to ridicule other people? And, why does racism exist? She was one of the first people to really theorize, or maybe the first people to really think about, why are people racist? Why is it about skin color and it's not about, the length of somebody's arms or just some other bodily feature? Why is it really just about people ridicule all over the world? We've shown in other videos that everybody is really ridiculing black people. So we're going to go into Frances Cress Welsing. I'm going to type her name. So for those who don't know who she is, you need to know. So we're going to flip it around. All right. And shout out to everybody that's watching. All right. So I'm going to type Frances and then Cress. There we go. So Frances Cress Welsing, American psychiatrist. All right. All right. So let's see. So who wrote the ISIS papers? So yeah. So let's talk about this. The ISIS papers by Frances Cress Welsing.
What's up, family? This is Caden with Urban Finance, and today.
All right. Let's see. Let's skip this. Okay, so let's play this.
That's an overwhelming majority of people are classified as non-white, meaning black, brown.
So I'll read this. So white supremacy consists of a pattern of perception, logic, symbol formation, thoughts, speech, action, and emotional response as conducted simultaneously in all areas of people activity, economies, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, for the ultimate purpose of white genetic survival and to prevent white genetic annihilation on planet Earth, a planet upon which the vast and overwhelming majority of people are classified as non-white, meaning black, brown, red, and yellow people, by white-skinned people, and all of the non-white, let's people are genetically let's go back. Let's backtrack because it hadn't written out the whole thing. By white-skinned people and all of the non-white people are genetically dominant in terms of skin coloration compared to the genetic recessive white-skinned people, right? So now we all know that if you go to Korea, people in Korea are lighter skinned than most Europeans, but we don't call Korean people white, even though a lot of Korean people might feel that they're white, and that's why we see a lot of white supremacy in Korea with groups like BTS and a million other groups, or dozens of other groups out there, right? Now, so that's Frances Cress Welsing's hypothesis on why people are racist, that there's a genetic factor lying underneath all of this, that let's say everybody were to come together and everybody were to stop being racist and everybody would have babies, everybody would be black and Asian looking. Some people would be more black, some people, Asian and black features are dominant. So, and black features being the most dominant, black genetics being the most dominant, because black people are the root race of humanity. So we'll go into in other videos in the future too. But yeah, so let's go back to Frances Cress Welsing. All right. Now we're going to find her. We're going to go to her on Donahue. I'm going to type Frances Cress Welsing Donahue. So for the young people who have no idea, Donahue he's a talk show host from way back in the day. Now we're not going to play the whole thing, but we're going to play some of it so you can get some perspective on why would Howard Stern do this.
And you're author of a theory. Here's what she's saying. First of all, white people are dying out. Into the next century, everybody on Earth may be of color. And we're scared about it. Already we're a minority. Did you know that? I'll guess 25% of us are white, maybe less than that. And that's the reason we're racist. We're not only afraid of dying out, but we're also jealous because we have no color. You're laughing. How come we spend so much time in the sun trying to get brown?
All right, so he's introducing her in this concept, so we're going to leave it.
Can't make a baby of color. And that's the reason for racism and lynching. And how do you explain? You believe we're racist? No, we're not racist. Yes, we are racist. What is this, an accident that all the cities are becoming blacker and blacker while the outer reaches of major metropolitan whiter and whiter? That's an accident? Fuck. When you get on an elevator and you're the only white person on the elevator, how do you feel? What'd she say? What'd she say? Frightened, she said? Oh, she's scared of elevators. Okay.
I'm just going to stop this just so that Donahue doesn't try to do a copyright strike. So I'm just going to stop it for a little second, then I'm going to start it back up.
Okay, here we go. Francis Cress Welsing, MD. You are a Washington, D.C.-based psychiatrist, and you're author of the Cress, your middle name, we should say, Theory of Color Confrontation and Racism. You call racism white supremacy. To be sure, a provocative and controversial theory on skin color and oppression. Well, I'm ready.
So she's saying, why would people do this? Why, why? Why are Caucasian people from all over the world, all different religions? We've got people that are Christian here. We've got people that are Jewish here. We've got people that are Muslim here, like this guy right here. We've got, or actually, no, he might be Hindu. We've got people from all over the world. Why are people doing this? Why is everybody ridiculing black people? Why is that? So that's what she, went into. So why is Howard Stern doing this?
So is this mostly but not exclusively white audience. Let them have it, Doctor. How? Boy, oh boy, you need an escort to get out of your speeches?
No, now, let me just give you a little background. This paper was written...
Oh, you're right, fair use.
...approximately in 1969 and presented in 1970. It was written for a group of black psychiatrists who were looking at racism.
Yeah.
It was also written because as a psychiatrist and working in a hospital trying to treat black people and white people, but recognizing that the majority of the problems that black patients had in a psychiatric hospital, when you took a history, you would run smack into racism. So I knew I had to understand racism to help solve the mental health problems of black people. So out of my brain computer, putting in the question, why? Why do we see this behavior? Why have we seen it for hundreds of years? So I thought about these two things, basically two facts, that even though the white population says that people of color are minorities, that it is the white population that is the minority on the planet.
That's the reality you're saying.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
That in spite of the fact that black people, non-white people have heard over and over again, you're genetically inferior because you are non-white. That in reality, white skin is a genetic recessive status, not as said by Francis Welsing.
So we're going to stop. So genetic recessive. So you see Donahue has this look on his face. It's kind of funny. So we're going to type in genetic recessive. All right. So I'm going to type in genetic recessive. Genetic recessive definition. Now, recessive gene definition. A recessive gene is a gene whose effects are masked in the presence of a dominant gene. So if an organism has one dominant and one recessive allele, it will show the dominant trait. So this is saying that if a I'll flip it over to me. So what genetic recessive means is that if somebody that is black and somebody that's Caucasian have a child, then the child is going to look mostly black. And so Frances Cress Welsing, is her theory is based on this fact of people fearing that and knowing that, hey, if my daughter is listening to hip hop music and going to that club downtown and hanging with black people, then she might get pregnant by a black guy. And then what happens? Then that means that that person's estate was going to eventually go to black people. If their daughter has black children, that means that they might eventually relinquish their estate, or let's say they have a house in the suburbs and they think, wow, when they pass away and they give their life insurance to their child, that child is going to be black people that are going to be getting that money. The only person that's Caucasian is going to be their daughter. And so that's one of their main fears. And so if you look at the history of marijuana regulation, the same thing happened where senators wanted to ban integration, and they wanted to ban black and Mexican people from hanging out with Caucasian women. So they created laws. They made marijuana illegal, because before that, marijuana wasn't illegal. People were smoking weed together. And, 100 years ago, or a little bit more than 100 years ago, maybe 120 years ago, you could smoke weed legally in America. And they made it legal when Caucasian women started hanging out with black and Mexican people. We know the Zoot Suit riots. I'll put all these things I'm talking about. I'll probably be putting pictures of them as well in the actual video that's going to be on the TTM Academy page, because this is a historical thing. So I'll put an image of the Zoot Suit riots. And the Zoot Suit riots were when Caucasian people went into predominantly Mexican neighborhoods and started, killing and beating up Mexican people that were wearing baggy clothes. Zoot suits at that time were kind of like the hip hop era of the swing era, where people were wearing the baggy zoot suits and listening to swing music and smoking weed. Fast forward to now, people are, wearing the hip hop clothes and still smoking weed, and they're listening to trap music, or they're listening to whatever type of hip hop music. So, so we're going into the psychology and of the sociopathy of why would somebody do something like this? Why would Lady Gaga wear blackface to ridicule people? And the reason why Lady Gaga would wear blackface is because Lady Gaga is seen as an archetype that many young Caucasian women, or even also Latin speaking diaspora, since Latin is a dead language, it's not an actual group of people. The Latin speaking, the Spanish speaking diaspora, and many of people will look up to her, and Indian as well. People that look similar to her are going to look up to her and say, well, I would love to be like her. She's rich and famous. She's on the cover of magazines. She hates black people. She doesn't have, she's ridiculing black people. That's a position of power. And so if the birth rate is going down, then somebody like Lady Gaga can help get the birth rate up. So that's what Hollywood really is about getting the, maintaining superiority, whether it's through psychological superiority like this, or financial superiority like this, 320 million. We'll go to back to Howard Stern, who's at 650 million. We see a lot of these people on this chart, are kind of archetypes for, that can stimulate the birth rate in the future. So, so Frances Cress Welsing is saying that people are, that racist people, all these racist people are afraid that, eventually blacks will take over their genetic line. And also genetic line includes financial line too, because it includes their house. If they have a house with a white picket fence in the suburbs, they know if their daughter were to become pregnant by a black male, then, that white house, picket house in the suburb is eventually going to be relinquished to black children, because their family would become black automatically in one generation. So they're very, very scared of that, So that's what she's talking about. And you can see, that's why Hollywood. There's just so many examples of, why would they do this, and why would they want to make black women look silly and fat and stupid and put all these racial stereotypes out there? Why would they want to do that? And the reason why they would want to do that is because they don't want people having babies with black women. They don't want black males having babies with black women, and nor do they want white males having babies with black women. So they will pay people like Jamie Kennedy. You see, he's a multimillionaire. All these people are multimillionaires. They're paying them to be archetypes for to main Caucasian status quo, and we'll look up what status quo means. So this is all about historical stuff. None of these are opinions. These are just historical facts. So we're gonna look up status quo. Oh, they already got it. All right. So let's go to one that's more of a actual longer definition, like Merriam-Webster. All right, good. So let's look up. We got status quo, the existing state of affairs. So people are when people speak of status quo, they're talking about whatever is existing. So in this world that we live in today, what's existing is we all know that white supremacy is kind of the top caste in our society. So we have the white caste at the top of the society, just like the Brahmins within Hinduism, and then we have black people like myself as the lowest class, and darker skinned people even at a lower class. So the darker, even within the caste of black, there's colorism and there's different castes even within that. So these are all castes, and really to end white supremacy, we have to kind of eliminate all these castes, because there still is a caste system. So in Hinduism, people call it them Dalits or untouchables. In modern terms, we call untouchables black people like myself, right? So we're the untouchable caste, and that means that this caste, you don't want them to touch your stuff, you don't want them to come into your house, you don't want them to eat dinner with you, you don't want them to date your daughter or marry into your family. So that's the main issue here. So we're going to go back to Francis. All right, let's flip back around. All right, we're going to hear, so Donahue's, so we looked up recessive, all right, and dominant.
Meaning that if you and I were to have a baby, the baby would have color, and you make the contribution and I don't.
That white plus colored, well, wait a minute. It's not Francis Wilson that is concerned about the disappearance of white. Ben Wattenberg just wrote a book, The Birth Dearth. There have been multiple articles in the newspaper talking about the decline of Western populations.
Yeah, here's the Washington Post, just to name one. We are a depopulation bomb, the withering of the Western world. Here, incidentally, this was the percentage of the West's population in 1900, the turn of this century, about 30%. This is where we'll be, less than 10% in the year 2075. Here's where we are about today, 15. So we're not having babies.
All right, so now we're going to, because this isn't about, politics or theories. This is all science. This is real stuff. So we're going to type in Nigeria population, and we're just going to look at some charts. So I'm going to type in Nigeria population. All right, so Nigeria population. All right, so Nigeria's population is 195 million in 2018, the last time it was checked. So we see a chart here. Now we see that it's nonstop going up, right? That's Nigeria's population. And let's look at where it was let's just look at where it was in 1990. In 1990, it was 35 million in 1990. Now we're going to open up another window. We're going to type Russian population. And racism is very, very big in Russia, just like most countries around the world. All right, I'm going to type Russia population. All right, now let's get the Russian population up. All right, so we're at 144 million. So now we're going to look on this map, and we're going to see that Russia is huge. I mean, obviously this map is distorted. We all know that part of white supremacy is not only distorting, things that you see on TV, but also distorting education and maps, right? We see Russia's is super huge. We see Greenland's like almost the size of Africa, right? The more you go to the top of the North Pole, the more these maps are distorted, this particular style of map. But so let's go to Nigeria. So Nigeria is about this big, and we see that there's more people in Nigeria now than there's in Russia. And in 1990, there was only like 35 million or so Nigerians. So we're going to 1990, right? 36 million. Oh no, I'm sorry, 95 million. I was looking at South Africa. So Nigeria had 95 million in 2001, and South Africa's moving at a similar rate too. South Africa's got a lot of people right now. 57 million. Let's see. But actually, no, South Africa's not moving up that much. All right. And I wonder why that is. You notice that South Africa is one of the only nations that's not totally ruled by black people in Africa, and they've got one of the slowest birth rates. Right. So, we can see that the South African government is actively reducing their birth rates and either killing people, sterilizing people, or making people not putting out propaganda to not make them not want to have babies. So back to Russia. Let's go back to Russia. We're going to click back. We're going to look at Russia's population. All right, so Russia's population is 144 million right now, right? But let's see where Russia was in 1990. In 1990, Russia was 148 million. So Russia's population is getting smaller, if y'all see that. So we've just proved that, what she's saying is correct, that European countries that are primarily Caucasian people, have lower birth rates than countries that are more people like Nigeria. We'll click back to Nigeria, where you see it's just nonstop going up, right? And if we type the U.S. population. So I'm going to type U.S. population. Oh, it has it here. We got it right here anyway. So United States is 327 million, and ours is going up too, just like Nigeria. But who is it that's going up? So I'm going to type, let's see, white American population decline. So this is what Francis Cress Welsing is talking about. All right, so we can see here, as the Chicago Reporter says, the white majority will soon disappear forever. By 2050, that's 30 years from now, only 30 years, right? 30 cycles of the sun. By 2050, the U.S. will be a majority-minority country. And why would they call it minority if it's a majority? So this is just a racist person writing it too. Because a minor is somebody, in legal terms, a minor is somebody that you can control and tell them what to do, somebody that's like a ward of the state. And for centuries, blacks and Indians have been looked at as wards of the state for Caucasian people, being enslaved or being free persons. All right, so majority-minority country with white non-Hispanics making up less than half of the total population. Right, so that's what they're talking about. And even Saturday Night Live did some skits about, the last couple presidents or something like that. So, you see what a declining white majority. The same thing in, so we're going to type growth rate. So white American growth rate. Or I'm going to type white American negative growth rate. Because a zero growth rate is when you have the birth to death ratio. I'm going to flip around. A zero growth rate is when the birth to death ratio is at is equal. So for every baby that's born, an elderly person passes away, and that would be a zero growth rate. So if there's 150 million people, then that means that there continue to be 150 million people if there's a zero growth rate. If you have a negative growth rate like Russia we saw has a negative growth rate. They had more people in 1990 living in Russia than they do now. So people are leaving Russia, people are dying more than they're having babies. People aren't having as many babies as they were, right? But black and Spanish-speaking communities are still having babies, and that's one of the main fears behind racism. So when we see this chart, we go to right here, it's like, why would people do this? She's saying it's to maintain superiority, a genetic superiority. And that's what, Hitler and other people, other eugenicists like Sanger and people like that were talking about. We've got Virginia Woolf, a very notable author that's taught in English courses all over the West. and we see her in blackface. And she actually did blackface, to an actual, she was actually committing fraud. She was actually acting like she was from the Middle East and being celebrated, kind of like a prank, she was being celebrated as like a diplomat from like Ethiopia or something, or some African country. And the people thought that she was actually black. All right. And then we see Shirley Temple did blackface. Everybody that you love has done it, right? All the American favorites, right? But so back to where we're going. So let's see. We're going to go to white American zero growth rate. All right. So there we go. All right. So U.S. white population declines in Generation Z plus is, let's see. All right. So yeah, we've seen this. The white U.S. majority will soon disappear, right? So fewer births than deaths among whites in the majority of U.S. 30 years of zero population. And let's look at Europe. So I'm going to type in white European zero growth rate. And this is the same problem that's in Europe. In Europe, the white supremacy is very, very strong. I'm going to type European. They know that the future of Europe is going to be Muslim and non-Caucasian. So, there's a lot of xenophobia towards Muslim people. If you've ever been to Europe, you notice that if you want to get a sandwich in the corner, the average sandwich is made by maybe like a Turkish person or, Algerian business or a Turkish business, So, that's what's happening within England and Brexit and the UK and all that is the fear of Muslims taking over. So zero population growth. Let's see, list of. Oh no, not zero. I meant to type negative growth rate. See, I typed in zero growth rate. I meant to type in negative. Negative. All right, so negative growth rate. All right, so white European negative growth rate. All right, so population decline. Wikipedia. So Europe is headed towards a demographic crisis. Why is it a crisis? It's just, the percentage of whites is going down, the percentage of Muslims and Africans and North Africans is going up, but they call it a crisis, right? But that's just a change in demographics. Why is a change in demographics a crisis? All right. Now, let's see. So Europe needs more babies to avert a population disaster. Okay. So we're seeing that that European countries that desperately need migrants. All right. So that's why they need the migrants, because the population is going down. All right. So let's go back to Welsing. All right. So we're going to play some more Welsing.
So whites are not having babies, and there is the concern about white genetic annihilation. In other words, I look at, this is Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday holiday, and people will say, well, here's a man who talked about love. Yeah. Why was he killed? And I say that the deeper logic is, what if all black and white people and non-white people and white people love? What would happen to white people? White would disappear. You see, just mix all of the people on the planet up together.
If race didn't matter, or if color didn't matter, it follows with the jet plane.
No, I'm not saying if it didn't matter. I'm saying that indeed, if there was a mingling of all of the people,
because the ability, okay, fine. Absence of prejudice.
The ability, no, wait, don't confuse what I'm saying. I'm saying that if we mixed all of the people presently on the planet, stirred them up,
the white freckle-faced people would be gone.
Genetic recessive status would disappear. And that if I did a survey and everybody didn't have to, face anybody, if I said how many people who are white want their children to be white, want their grandchildren to be white, want their great-grandchildren to be white, want their great-great-grandchildren to be white. And I've gone all over the country in England and asked this question. Yeah. Everybody wants the children and the generations to remain white. Yeah. If you do, then you have to do something to make sure that that happens. And I say that what the thing is that is done, and particularly in relationship to black non-whites, because we have the greatest genetic potential to cause white genetic annihilation.
Because you're the blackest.
Because we, right,
the most color.
Right, we have this ability to produce melanin pigment. We have more of it than anybody else. And so the most pressure is on black people. As a matter of fact, the black people learn, all non-white people over the world learn. If you're black, stay back. If you're yellow, you're brown, stick around. If you're yellow, mellow, white, right. I can go to England and the people can just say the same thing.
And so she's basically talking about a caste system. So right now we're living in a caste system. You look on TV, you see riots and insurrections and crazy stuff, and this is the caste system. So, and this is why it's important to understand the stratas of the caste system that we live in. So, flip back.
Doesn't matter if you go to the Philippines, because there has been a confrontation of brown with white. Everybody knows the more pigment you have, the more pressure that is on you.
Yeah.
But they didn't understand why. I said the why is for the purpose of white genetic survival.
Right. And you're saying that blacks have no similar hidden subconscious anxiety about their blackness being undermined by the presence of white?
We don't have that fear. And I think that this is something that is not understood. You see, in other words, if I don't worry about it, as a matter of fact, under white supremacy, the non-white people try to get lighter. You see, because the less pigment you have, the less threat you are to white, and so the greater opportunity that you have.
Yeah. The mass inability of whites to live and attend school in the presence of non-whites, manifested by the patterns of black and white housing and education throughout this country, and indeed throughout the world, is seen, according to your thesis, in terms of the color confrontation thesis, as the apparent total psychological discomfort experienced by whites in situations in which they must daily face their color inadequacy when they confront their neighbors of color. You go on.
I predicted. Look, I wrote that in 1970. I said you cannot have integrated housing. You cannot have integrated schools.
You still believe that?
I mean, the evidence. I always look at the evidence.
Okay. So, those are her personal opinions. So, and now we fast forward to, decades later, and we see there's, a lot of problems going on as far as what's happened with, societies clashing. All right. So let's get back to Howard Stern. All right. So now we're going to go back. So we covered her, why people would do this. Like, why is everybody doing this? Why is Diplo doing this? Why is Sia doing this? Why is Julianne, whoever this is, doing this? Why are these governors, the governor of Virginia, so Governor Northam, he's the actual governor of Virginia right now. He's currently the governor right now. If I was living in Virginia right now, I would feel unsafe. I would feel like, hey, this man could come into my home and try to hurt me. He's literally got Nazi, this is equivalent to you might as well be wearing a swastika. This is very, very racist, right? All these people are very racist, right? All right. And it's also important to note that racism is a spectrum, where you have, King Leopold and Adolf and people on one end of the spectrum. They have a high body count, right? King Leopold, 15 million, Hitler, millions and millions, 5, 10 million, 20 million. All these body counts are really, really high. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have people that have black friends and they don't think they're racist, and but they're still racist based on certain things or whatever things that make them racist. But yeah, so it's a spectrum. So a lot of people say like, oh, racists are those KKK people, but now we see that on TV with these turbulent times, you can see that racism is very, very common. It's very commonplace. It's not something that's rare or something that's like, oh, it's those people living out in the woods. It's like, no, it's the majority of a lot of, as we can see, of this world, of the older generation. The newer generation is less than the older generation, but the older generation and the new generation present a problem to people like myself, black people that have been oppressed for at least 500 years of nonstop warfare and psychological torment, psychological torture, ridicule, rape, enslavement, sex trafficking. If you look at most of our dollar bills, those are people that have, harmed black people a lot of times. And, our President Trump raised a very good point. He's like, should we get rid of everybody? And it's like, yeah, maybe we should. We should get rid of all the people and all the dollar bills and maybe change, Washington, D.C. to something else, D.C., somebody else's name, because we know Washington owned slaves as well. And his teeth were actually plucked out of the mouth from black people. We're actually, I'll look at that as a little side note for, to add some perspective to this. I'm going to type George Washington's teeth. George Washington teeth. All right, so George Washington teeth. Okay, so these are George Washington's actual teeth. And they did the DNA analysis on these teeth, and these were not his teeth, and they found that these were from black men and maybe women. I'm not sure if it's from men and women, but these are these are slave teeth. These are teeth that he plucked out of living people, because if you put a cadaver's tooth in your mouth, you could get very sick from that. So they made this from living people, right? So these were plucked out of living people's mouths, and so this is a very, very, very extreme thing. All right. Somebody say, yeah, that's nuts. Exactly. Yeah, it's totally nuts. Yeah, these were picked out of the mouths of living people, right? All right. So yeah, shout out to Spencer again out in Russia. All right. All right. Homies all around the world. All right. Toki up in the house. All right. So yeah, so for Toki and people that are just entering, this is an expose, a historical and analytical expose on Howard Stern, and we're talking about why Howard Stern would do this, the dynamics of that. We just went into Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's ISIS paper theory that the main reason that all these people would want to ridicule black people and even ridicule Asian people is because they are they fear genetic annihilation. So these two guys are being paid by the UK government. You see, they've won the MBE award, one of the highest awards you can get. They're being paid by the UK government. BBC is a monopoly. Remember, it's not like America where we have a lot of different. It's more of a oligarchy, whatever, but oligarchy. But we see right here he's being paid to mock Asian people, and they're being paid to mock black people. And so what Francis Cress Welsing was saying was that, if an Asian man were to have a baby with a Caucasian woman, the people would perceive the baby as Asian, and Caucasian people fear that. And if a black man were to have a baby with an Asian person, with a Caucasian person, then the baby would be considered black. And so, being that they fear that, their people are paying them, deep pockets are paying them to ridicule black and Asian people, so that people won't want to have babies with Asian women or Asian men, or won't want to have babies with black women or black men. This is why we see time and time again, we see Tracy Ullman, making fun of black people, Asian people, right? And even like maybe Indian people too, right? But and we got Seinfeld here, him making fun of black women. They're always making them very overweight. So that if you notice in casting too on television, there's a lot of racism in casting. So let's go back to the Howard Stern stuff. Now we're gonna we're gonna play the original video from Tariq Nasheed. This is Tariq Nasheed, who's a black American filmmaker who's actually been banned from the UK, the United Kingdom, that the same place that gives people MBEs even after they've done multiple instances of blackface, right? This guy's got his MBE too, right? So if you ridicule Asians and blacks, you get the highest award from the Queen. And if you ridicule Asian and black people, you get the highest award from the Queen again, right? Yeah, BBC is CNN's mentor, right? Exactly. Spencer was just saying that, right? So let's play this again. Let's play some more of this.
You use the N-word a lot.
So this is Howard Stern saying he didn't use the N-word, but let's fast forward to where he's actually using it.
What we wrote it. I want you to, what does use the N-word? Let's be very clear. Hey, Robin, use the N-word.
Yeah.
So he's lying.
Say it. Belief was, hey, say it out in the open.
Yes.
And I didn't use the N-word. Let's be very clear. Hey, Robin, what does you call a black rocket scientist?
I don't know.
A nigger. Whoopi wrote it. I want you to give us a kiss.
And what's interesting about him saying that, he just, did he write that whole black rocket scientist thing? What's interesting is that NASA actually is based off of Black women's sciences, right? If anybody's seen the movie, I guess Hidden Colors, um, then you've seen that that Black women were used as computers. The original computers for NASA. The original computers for NASA were Black women, and the woman that was one of the main ones, she just passed away. The woman that the movie was made about. I'm sorry, Hidden Figures, not Hidden Colors. But I personally think that they might have made the movie, they called it Hidden Figures so that people would forget about Hidden Colors, because what Tariq Nasheed is doing is such a powerful series of documentaries. So this is Tariq Nasheed once again, who's banned in the UK from screening his movies, his Hidden Colors movies. But Hidden Figures, let me type Hidden Figures. So he's talking about NASA and black rocket scientists like it's some crazy funny thing, like, oh, a black person could never be a rocket scientist. We're going to look at I'm going to type Hidden Figures, right? 2016 film, and I forgot the woman's name. Hidden Figures, NASA woman. I forget her name. I'm trying to find her name. Hidden Figures, NASA woman. If somebody knows her name, you can tell me. Okay, the lead role of mathematician Catherine Goebel Johnson. Catherine Johnson. Let's see. All right, so Hidden Figures. Yes. Oh, so Catherine Johnson. There we go. Let me type Catherine Johnson, and I'm going to type Catherine Johnson Wikipedia. So let's see. Hidden Figures. Maybe they'll have the link in here. Catherine. I hope they have a Catherine Johnson. There we go. All right. So yeah, this is Catherine Johnson, a Black woman that she was leading a team of Black women scientists and mathematicians that their calculations are what all of modern NASA were based off of, and they were doing real calculations and real science, real mathematics. They had a whole room of them. So yeah, Catherine Johnson, right, and and in contrast, we're going to look up, what was also going on a little bit before that. We're going to look up, this is just a little side note, because we were talking about the fact that white supremacy is also a subset of Satanism. I'm going to type in Jack Parsons. So we're going deep within this investigation. Jack Parsons. This is all historical stuff. None of this is conspiracy theory, because these are all real people. So this is Jack Parsons. And we're going to go to Wikipedia. We're going to compare Jack Parsons with Catherine Johnson. All right. So Catherine Johnson is a actual mathematician. All right. So we're going to look at her first. So Catherine Johnson she just passed away this year on February 24th. It's very, very sad. This is her. And so it says, was an American mathematician whose calculations of orbital mechanics as a NASA employee were critical to the success of the first and subsequent U.S. crewed space flights. During her 35-year career at NASA and its predecessors, she earned a reputation for mastering complex manual calculations and helped pioneer the use of computers to perform the tasks. The space agency noted her historical role as one of the first African-American women to work as a NASA scientist. Johnson's work included calculating trajectories, launch windows, and emergency return paths for Project Mercury space flights, including those for astronauts Alan Shepard, the first American in space, and John Glenn, the first American in orbit, and rendezvous paths for the Apollo lunar module and command module on flights to the moon. So she got people to the moon, right? She's the reason why we got to the moon, and she had a whole room of Black women working with her. And so we know that the original computations and original computers before there were supercomputers, our supercomputers were Black people, right? And so they're using Black people as like a type of engine. And it's also interesting that, as Black people, we were called engines, like Indians. You say Indians, engines, so I come from Black Choctaw people from Mississippi. That's my mom's side. My dad's side is Black Cherokee people from Tennessee. So, then they called us engines, and it's kind of interesting that the overlap of the word engine and actually using, enslaved people as like machines, all right, mechanical machines or engines. But I was just making that connection there. But that's just more of like a kind of etymological kind of look at the word engine, right? And the Trojan version of that, of like the idea of engine being an Indian, or an engine also being, a part of a machine. So this is Katherine Johnson. Now we're going to flip to Jack Parsons. All right. Now Jack Parsons. So he's also a NASA scientist, and let's see what he was doing. John Whiteside Jack Parsons, born Marvel Whiteside Parsons, October 2nd. June 17th. His birthday is coming up, right? So that's interesting. Was an American rocket engineer and rocket propulsion researcher, chemist, and Thelemite occultist. Associated with the California Institute of Technology, Caltech. Associated, right? He didn't graduate from there. Parsons was one of the principal founders of both the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, and Aerojet Engineering Corporation. He invented the first rocket engine to use castable composite rocket propellant and pioneered the advancement of both liquid fuel and solid fuel rockets. All right. Now let's look at what his background was. All right. Born in Los Angeles, Parsons was raised by a wealthy family on Orange Grove Avenue in Pasadena, inspired by science fiction literature. He developed an interest in rocketry in his childhood, and in 1928 began amateur rocket experiments with school friends. He dropped out of Pasadena Junior College, so he dropped out of college, and Stanford University due to financial difficulties during the Great Depression. And in 1934, he united with Foreman and graduate student Frank Molina to form the Caltech-affiliated Guggenheim Aeronautical Laboratory. Rocket research group supported supported by GALSIT chairman Theodore von Karman. In 1939, the GALSIT group gained funding from the National Academy of Sciences, NAS, to work on jet-assisted takeoff, JATO, to the U.S. military. After the U.S. entered World War II, they founded Aerojet in 1942 to develop and sell JATO technology. All right, so that's just a little about him. So we see that he never graduated, right? He was untrained, and yet he was the head of a rocket propulsion part of NASA. Like NASA, you would think that they would choose people that are elite, but let's see what he's a Thelemite. What is a Thelemite? And this is going to relate to Hollywood and the occult and racism, because a lot of people look at racism as just kind of like a racial thing, like Caucasian people being racist, but racism is really a subset of something bigger, and that's Satanism, and just being mean to people in general. Whether somebody's being a cannibal or somebody's stabbing somebody, sacrificing, enslaving. That's just all. We can put all that under the umbrella of harming others. So there's people that harm others, and then within that subset of people that harm others, some of them are racist, right? Because some people that harm others aren't racist. Maybe they're harming themselves, right? So so we're gonna flip around again. All right. So let's go back. All right, we're tying all these things together. So this is a cult that he was part of, Jack Parsons, that helped found some of the early parts of NASA. And I'm comparing him to Katherine Johnson because Howard Stern spoke of black people being, rocket scientists as if it's totally outlandish, when in fact, black people are the original rocket scientists. It's not even like some outlandish thing. We are actually the actual rocket scientists. So why would Howard Stern even say that? Why would he be like, oh, I'm a black rocket scientist? Why would he even say that? And some people would suggest that he would say something like that because he wants people to think that a black person could never be a rocket scientist, and that black people are stupid, and that's why he's, talking in a condescending manner. So we're going back to Jack Parsons, and we're into his cult. We're clicking on his cult. We're not into it. Word power is very important. Correcting myself. Clicking on his cult. And so this is the Thelema cult is an occult social or spiritual philosophy developed in the early 1900s by Aleister Crowley, a Satanist, an English writer, mystic, and ceremonial magician. They don't say Satanist in here. The word thelema in the English translation of the Koine Greek noun from the verb, All right, let's skip. Crowley asserted or believed himself to be the prophet of a new age, the Aeon of Horus, based upon a spiritual experience that he and his wife, Rose Edith, had in Egypt in 1904. By his account, a possibly non-corporeal or praetor-human being that called itself Aiwas contacted him, so some type of entities or whatever, demon, whatever, and subsequently dictated a text known as the Book of Law or Liber al Vel Legis, which outlined the principles of thelema. All right, so let's see what the thelema is. The thelemic pantheon. Okay, somebody says you're going to have to go into what I mean by Satanism. Okay, so what I mean by Satanism is when I say Satanism, I'm speaking of Satanists and Luciferians as the same thing. You know, obviously there's different doctrines and small details, but you know, if this person's eating babies and that person's eating humans, you know, I would say that they're both, you know, Satanists. So when I say Satanists, I mean I'm speaking of people that are worshiping. I'm not talking about paganism. Now, so to answer your question, you might maybe thinking I'm like some, you know, ultra religious person calling anything that's not, you know, one of the Abrahamic religions Satanism or something. I'm not saying that. I'm not talking about paganism. Because paganism just means any religion that's not, you know, Christianity. I'm talking about Satanism, and when I mean Satanism, I'm talking about people that worship, like, you know, people that worship either like Baphomet or, you know, people that are worshiping specific, you know, satanic deities like Lucifer. Many Masonic orders are actually Luciferians worshiping Lucifer. You know, so there's Luciferians, there's Satanists. You know, there's a lot of different factions within that, and in the U.S. right now, they're recognized as a church. And let's go to here too, because we'll go back to this. That's very, very interesting that you bring that up. I'm going to go to Sammy Davis Jr. over here. I mean, not Sammy Davis Jr. Here we have, let me go back to the chart. So we have Billy Crystal being racist and wearing blackface and impersonating Sammy Davis Jr. But if we go down here further on the chart, I still haven't named these guys yet, but you know, the whole Rat Pack, this is them doing blackface. I caught them. And here they have Sammy Davis Jr. right here, right? And now we're going to type Sammy Davis Jr., right? I'm going to type Sammy Davis Jr., and I'm going to type Satan or satanic. All right. And we're going to go to the images. And here he is with the actual founder of the Satanic Church. He's sitting here with, what's this fool's name? I'm glad I forgot his name. What is this guy's name? LaVey, that's right. So it's Anton LaVey is who he's with. So when I say Satanism, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Caucasian people that are organized. These people are very organized, right? And not just them, because there's organized Satanists and then there's non-organized Satanists, obviously. There's, you know, so let's click over here. This is what I mean by Satanism. Somebody was like, what do you mean by Satanism? I'm not talking about paganism. I'm talking about Satanism. All right. So this is Satanism. This is, you know, Sammy Davis Jr. with LaVey. And we're going to type in Anton LaVey. All right. Because this is all investigation. Why would Howard Stern do all this type of stuff? Why is Hollywood specifically just coming at black people? So we're going to type Anton LaVey, right? Because somebody in the audience just asked, like, what do you mean by Satanism? All right, so we're clicking on Anton LaVey. This is Anton LaVey, all right? And he was an American author, musician, and occultist. Notice how they don't say Satanist. I mean, because he's like author of the Satanic Bible, why wouldn't they call him a Satanist? Like if somebody wrote a Muslim text or a Christian text, they would say he's a Islamic scholar, or but notice how they just call him a cultist, because a lot of the wiki admins are Satanists themselves, and they want to hide the fact that he's clearly a Satanist, and they say he's a Satanist. I mean, he wrote a book on Satan, was the founder of the Church of Satan, right? Like, and the religion of Levian Satanism, right? So this is just one faction of Satanism, all right? So that's what I mean, is that when I say white supremacy and white power, they are subsets of actual Satanism. So if we go to, let's say we go to, I'm going to type Pike, I'm going to type Albert Pike. Whoops, Albert Pike. I spelled it, I hit it wrong. All right, so Albert Pike. We see Albert Pike here in his Masonic regalia. You can see, all right, yeah, Pike in Masonic regalia by Matthew Brady, right? We see Albert Pike right here. And he was an American author, poet, orator, jurist, and prominent member of the Freemasons. He was also a senior officer of the Confederate States Army. So right now, if we know that in the news right now, many Confederates people are pulling down Confederate statues. They're pulling down, making sure that the flags are taken down. So let's flip back over. So this issue, everything connects. You see how white supremacy, Satanism, Confederate culture, Masonry, all these things are all overlapping. Hollywood, the Lima, all these things are Blackface. They all overlap. They're all parts of the same octopus, right? And so Blackface is just a specific tentacle of a larger thing, right? Confederate culture or recognition is a specific tentacle of a larger thing. All right, so the Confederate States Army, who commanded the District of Indian Territory and the Trans-Mississippi Theater, the American Civil War, right? So yeah, so we know him as, but see, he also, let's go down to let's see, Pike first joined the fraternal, all right, so Pike first joined the Fraternal Independent Order of Odd Fellows in 1840. He next joined in a Masonic lodge where he became extremely active. Extremely active in the affairs of the organization. In 1859, he was selected Sovereign Grand Commander of the Scottish Rites Southern Jurisdiction. He remained Sovereign Grand Commander for the remainder of his life, a total of 32 years, devoting a large amount of his time to developing the rituals of the order. So we don't know what those rituals are, but let's see. Notably, he published a book called Morals and Dogma of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite Freemasonry in 1871, of which there were several subsequent editions. This helped the order grow during the 19th century. He also researched and wrote the seminal treatise Indo-Aryan Deities and Worship as contained in the Rig Veda. So this once again connects it to the caste system, Indo-Aryan deities and the worship of the contained in the Rig Veda. All right, so this goes back to about the caste system. We're talking about that, the fact that in our society now, there's an actual caste system where Caucasian people are placed on the top and black people are placed on the bottom, is the same as the Brahmins, Aryans that had invaded were placed on the top, and the Dalits, the darkest skinned Indian people, were placed on the bottom, or are placed on the bottom, because the caste system still exists there. But it's also important to note that when you go farther and farther back in India's history, at a certain point everybody was black, because before 55,000 years ago, before the 55,000 to 65,000 years ago, before the Neanderthalist trait was added to the black genome, everybody was black. So Indian people only pretty much go back about 65,000 years. So anything before that, there wasn't the straight hair gene amongst Homo sapiens sapien, which is the African woman or Bantu, the original seed of the Bantu tribes and people like that, which would be the L1 haplogroup, right? And I'll put pictures of all these things that I'm saying in the actual lecture that will be online. But this is the version where everybody can just see it more now as a lecture. All right, so we're going to go back to Pike. So he was influenced by he's a Confederate person Freemason influenced by the Aryan caste system. But back to what I was saying before, even when the original caste system was set up, a lot of that was more colorism, and it was, just different types of Black and Indian people hating on each other, self-hate. The homie Asir pointed that out last year in a debate that we had, that people were having online, and he was pointing that out, that the fact that the original Indian people were Black. And if you take the word Aryan actually means master, same as Saeed means master in Arabic, or the word or rabbi means master, and maestro means master. So all those mean the same thing: maestro, rabbi, Aryan. All those things mean the same thing. So originally, master just means like, hey, we're the masters, we're the top caste, right? And that was like a colorism thing. But then when the Iranians, the Caucasian Iranians invaded, it became a color thing. All right. So that's where that's coming from. So we're gonna flip back around. All right. And we're not gonna, in other lectures we'll, go into the caste system and go in that, I don't want to go too deep into the tangents, but so we're going to look at Pike's role. Let's see, we got the American Civil War. All right, so let's see. I'm going to type Albert Pike. Let's see, Albert Pike. Let me type this. Albert Pike. And then I'm going to type KKK. All right, so let's see. All right, It's statue of Albert Pike. Let's see. Why is Confederate General... All right, we're going to go to this. Why is Confederate General Albert Pike memorialized at Judiciary Square? So this is Albert Pike. He's a known racist, no white supremacist. All right, so we got that. We know he's Confederate, KKK. And Jonathan Davis. So let's see. Jonathan Dupuy. Anybody that's been awake for 3 or 4 days will likely experience, this is to those who are just coming in now, this is somebody that's in our thread, and he's posting on here, he's saying that anybody that's been awake for 3 or 4 days will likely experience contact with beings that are easily false flagged as demonic, that they can write a book like Crowley did, then attract zealoter pretenders setting up self-fulfilling expectational prophecies. Okay, so in reply to you, and it seems like you're pro-Satanist, Jonathan, since you've been defending Satanism and talking about Satanism for a minute, Crowley and some of his cohorts, Crowley actually wrote books on, eating babies and really, really horrible things, very, very, drinking blood and, just a lot of horrible things in a lot of his books. He wrote a lot of books, and, it's very, 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 horrible things. So for, anybody that's coming into this thread that's saying, oh, you're giving Satanists a bad name, that there is no such thing as a good Satanist. There's no such thing as a positive Satanist. Because, it's different than, just a general deity. When somebody's saying like, oh, they're worshiping this deity, that's the deity of, of flowers and mushrooms. So if somebody's worshiping the deity of flowers and mushrooms, then that's a positive, that's not a negative necessarily thing. But if somebody's worshiping, the destroyer of 20 worlds and ripping off 50 heads, then that's a negative thing. It is what it is. Whatever. And Jonathan's saying, no, it's not. But, obviously you're pro-Satanist, so I'm going to ignore you for the rest of this. And I'm gonna ignore your pro-Satanist stuff. But you were helpful in this debate or this lecture, because we were able to bring up the issues of that. And we're gonna talk about Thelema and its relation to Hollywood and its relation to bringing it back to Howard Stern. All right. So now we're gonna flip over again. So we've got, we see Anton LaVey, friend of Sammy Davis Jr., who's also cool with Blackface, who's sitting here with the whole Rack Pack, or most of the Rat Pack in Blackface. All right, we also got, I Love Lucy. They're doing the Blackface. All right. So yeah, so this is what, you're asking about, what do I mean by Satanism? This is what I mean by Satanism. I'm talking about organized Satanism, and then I'm talking about also non-organized Satanisms, like somebody like, let's say, Charles Manson or something like that, where he's got a swastika on his head. It's all overlap. It's crazy people, right? So it's like, Manson, I would call him a Satanist because even if he's not part of a particular denomination of organized Satanism, he's still, a Satanist by, character, by action, enticing other people to murder, things like that. So even colonialism, when somebody's sending, even if it's supposedly a positive religion and they're sending people in to kill people and slaughter people too, that's Satanism as well. That's Satanism as well. So when I mean Satanism, I mean more by action, not necessarily by denomination or what the person says that they are or appear to be. So somebody could appear to be a missionary, but if what they're doing is satanic, then they're a Satanist, or Luciferian, whatever. So I use Satanism and Luciferianism interchangeably. And to bring it back to the subject of racism and blackface, Satanism and Luciferianism blackface is a subset, is just one tool. Blackface and racism are tools that sociopathic, psychopathic people use to control others. Exactly. Carlos is saying MK Ultra, and we were talking about mental slavery and mental mind control, and that's what part of this is. We have Howard Stern here. All these people, they're not, many people that don't view racism as a problem will just look at this as like, oh, they're all being funny. You're just being too sensitive. And, nobody should tell anybody that they're ever being too sensitive. Exactly. Nazi eugenics, all this overlaps. Everything is all overlaps where, he's speaking of MK Ultra, which is like a mind control technique or series of techniques. This isn't, that's just one of many, many techniques. And, you can look at a technique as like a spell. And these are just different types of spells, right? We got Ben Stiller. People really love Ben Stiller, but, he did blackface. And he's using a mind control technique to induce fear of Caucasian people and ridicule of black people at the same time, right? Okay, so let's go back to where we were, all right? And, all right, so we're going to flip back around. All right, there we go. So, all right, we're going to go back to the NASA thing because this is what we were talking about. Howard Stern was talking about black, and for those that don't know, this is Beetlejuice, a guy that Howard Stern has in his show, and he makes fun of all the time. A disabled person, and he's just making fun of him. So let's go back to the Howard Stern thing. This where he's
no regrets on that comment.
No, it's just a stupid joke. Come on, cut it.
That's basically it.
Right, Sal, do you use the N-word in your act? Be honest.
Yeah, I do, and so do you, and so do a lot of comedians.
You don't see the difference between how you use it and how I use it?
No, he doesn't.
Listen, I don't know. I don't want to get into this
Explain to me how you use the N-word in your act. You explained to me yesterday, like a crowd in Philly might be too crazy.
What do you mean?
How do you get Stern on the radio?
Yeah.
And how do you get off with such,
What do you mean?
How do you say nigger on the radio?
Like this, nigger. That's how I say it. Mm-hmm. Because I'm saying, you see, you haven't listened to the whole show.
No, I don't.
You're hearing the word nigger out of context.
Well, I don't see it.
I am anti the word nigger. You understand?
Say it again. Come on, let's say it.
Now, notice how he said. Notice how he said he's anti the N-word. And he's saying it. So that's another thing about racism and racists, like sociopathic people are also liars. So people that are liars, they'll say anything to get them wherever. And a lot of times you can see that liars are able to get far in life, the ones that are successful. And, so let's go back to I just want to finish off on the Thelema thing. All right, we're going to talk about Thelema and also maybe L. Ron Hubbard's relation to the Thelema cult and Crowley and all that, and this is just Satanism and stuff in general, and being a subset of white supremacy. So we're talking about the relationship the connection between the Thelema cult and Hollywood white supremacy. Right? We got Hollywood, the white supremacy. Right? This is Hollywood. People in Hollywood, white supremacy. Right? Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Sarah Silverman. Right? Right? Caucasian diaspora is ridiculing black people. Right? And, so we talked about Thelema. So Crowley asserted or believed himself to be the prophet of a new age. Let's see. Oh, no, wait, we read that part already. Let's see, the Thelemic Pantheon. Pantheon is a group of gods, a collection of gods and goddesses who literally exist or serve as symbolic archetypes or metaphors, includes a number of deities, primarily a trio adapted from ancient Egyptian religion. So that's very important to recognize that, because this is all coming from ancient Egyptian religion, and but they're using that same religion to ridicule and make fun of black people. I'll actually be adding Elizabeth Taylor being Cleopatra and all that stuff to this chart as well. Speaking of Egyptian religion. So let's see. So why are the so who are the three speakers of the book of the law? Nuit, Hadith, Ra, Hur, Kuit. In at least one instance, Crowley describes these deities as a literary convenience. All right, so three statements in particular distill the practice. So we're not going to get into the details of the practice. I'm going to skip it forward. So historical precedents. Let's get to where. Let's see, Aleister Crowley. So now Thelema was founded by Aleister Crowley, who was an English occultist and writer. In 1904, Crowley claimed to have received the book. We talked about that. Let's see. So, all right, they're stealing Egyptian stuff, as always, right? And then look, here we have what's her name, Katy Perry, who's doing the Egyptian videos, and then she's got the making fun of black women, making these big booties, and then she made shoes that were connected to the live performance of the people wearing the same face as these shoes. Right, so it's just all around, just people, putting down black people, right? So now we're going to look farther down, right? We got magic, we got ritual. So all this is, racism is a type of magic, actually. Racism is a type of white supremacist magic, and all this blackface stuff is a type of like a magical tool. Just like you might have a Harry Potter spell, this is just one spell in the book of colonialism, right? Now, all right. So now, what I was trying to show is that now we have let's go back to here. Katherine Johnson, who's an actual, she was actually doing the calculations. She was doing all this real stuff, and she was actually, a real rocket scientist that really helped NASA. Some can debate whether they've actually going out there, but she's actually been helping NASA. And, and then Jack Parsons, who, let's go back, click back. Jack Parsons, known as a rocket engineer, was actually a fraud. He didn't go to school, and he was just, having sex parties in the Hollywood Thelemite thing. And notice that I didn't see anywhere in the Wikipedia that was talking about the actual cult of Thelema and what they were actually doing. Because I'm going to go to Jack Parsons and why he was fired from NASA. So I just want to kind of contrast him. We're contrasting Jack Parsons and Katherine Johnson. So this is a comparison between Katherine Johnson and Jack Parsons as it relates to Howard Stern's clowning of black people, saying that black people can't be rocket scientists. All right, so let's see when we're going to go to, this is a lot on Jack Parsons here, right? Right, work with L. Ron Hubbard, all right? So now let's keep on moving. All right, so we're going to keep going down. All right, so now, so I wish there was a much shorter version. So let's see. But basically, I don't have to read it all. So basically, I'll give you the shorthand version of the story. Basically, Parsons was part of the Thelema cult, which is a Hollywood-based cult. Not originally Hollywood-based, but they had a Hollywood chapter, and L. Ron Hubbard actually took over that chapter, and he actually shafted Parsons and took over the chapter, and actually took his wife. I believe think he maybe took his wife or took his sister or something like that. That's what Satanists do. They F each other over. All right, so let's get back to Howard Stern. So I'm going to close the book on Parsons. We'll talk about that type of stuff in the future in other lections. But I was just trying to ascertain that, Katherine Johnson is a real rocket scientist, while Jack Parsons is actually a fake rocket scientist. Yet, Jack Parsons gets a really long Wikipedia. All right. So yeah, we're going to close her, Katherine Johnson, right? And this was Sammy Davis Jr. with, actual Satanists. And we were connecting that with the Blackface before. We see Sammy Davis with the Rat Pack. So we know that racism and Satanism have a connection, right? And we can also go that, in Die Antwoord in the future, we'll cover, they've been called out for doing some like type of, satanic types of things, right? Okay. And by satanic, I'm not talking about pagan. I'm just talking about actual Satanism, like these actual guys in the actual Church of Satan, right? But symbols can be manipulated, like I was saying before. Like you see, he has a, that's like a Baphomet on his chest. This guy, but yeah, so it's a real thing, right? None of this is conspiracy theory. This is all just actual history, actual science, right? So these are actual rituals. People actually, they drink blood or whatever. They hurt people, right? All right, now let's move on. All right, so we're going to go back to some of these videos. All right, we're going to go back to this. Now we're going to press play, Howard Stern.
But you say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm not uptight about it.
And Carlos just made a very good point. Don't trust Wikipedia just for general stuff. They've removed pages and contributors. Very, very true. That's very, very true. Wikipedia is always changing. Always changing. And, there's a lot of racist moderators. And for those that don't know, I'm the inventor of the Turntablist transcription methodology, and somebody deleted the Turntablist transcription methodology page years ago, and then a guy out of Germany, actually, Germany, the same, place where the Nazi regime came from, a moderator from Germany named, I think, Corsells, I believe, was the one on Wikipedia who deleted the Turntablist transcription methodology as an admin, citing that it was non-notable. Even though it's been in magazines, it's been in movies. So then I, maybe I sent some message into Wikipedia one day. I was like, what are you talking about? It's not notable. And look at all these million places that it's appeared, and somebody reinstated it. Another admin reinstated it. So Carlos was very, very right. Carlos Soulslinger, shout out to the whole, Liquid Sky camp. Shout out to Soulslinger. But yeah, Carlos pointed that out, and that's very, very true. Wikipedia is not perfect, but I think it's better than just a general dictionary where we can't object to anything, or encyclopedia or whatever. But yeah, you're right. Wikipedia is always being edited, and there's a lot of racist trolling kind of admins in there. They call Black Egyptians a theory on Wikipedia. So Wikipedia is very racist in itself. You're right, and it's very biased and subjective. But there is a lot of real information on there. All right. Oh wow, they removed me too. All right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's haters out there trying to delete history, which is called anachronism when you try to delete history. All right, so we're gonna start this up again.
Oh, I am. People have fought over that word and died.
Who?
A lot of people.
Name one person who fought over that and died.
Like you ever heard the word King?
Who?
King? Dr. King?
Dr. King?
Yeah.
Gynecologist or dentist?
Well, yeah.
The hypnotist.
We know Dr. King, but he hypnotizes chicks.
Quivers, the lady that's over there, is her sister. She ought to be ashamed of herself.
Right.
I am.
Yeah, well, you know what? You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You ought to be ashamed of yourself for walking by the radio and jumping to conclusions.
Oh, well, I hear you so often when I walk to different offices, and I'm like, how do people listen to you? I really don't know.
I ought to beat you up.
Well, hey, I'm at 210 Plaza.
What?
I'm at 210 Plaza.
I'm coming down there.
So there's a wealth of footage of Howard Stern being racist, and the media is only covering that one thing. So we're gonna go back to I'm gonna type in Howard Stern again. Howard Stern. I'm just gonna type Howard Stern. Right. So we got Howard Stern. If you type Howard Stern, they're only talking about this one thing, this one instance. They're not talking about, wow, we found 20 instances of Howard Stern being racist. They're just talking about this one video, right? Like it's just this one thing, because they're trying to minimize the damage control, and because he's obviously an ally to them in a sense, because they hadn't taken him down already, but people are coming at him now, and it's mostly a younger generation, a much younger, kind of like Twitter generation. that's like Black Twitter that's really coming for Howard Stern in general, because a lot of the older generations are still under Stockholm syndrome. The you know, just like how Soul Slinger was talking about the MK Ultra stuff, you know, mind control. A lot of Black Americans that grew up under apartheid, which ended in America in like '67, you could say. That was when, you know, maybe, you know, Black people were allowed to marry Caucasian people. And that's also a proof of Francis Cress Welsing's point, is that the fact that there were anti-miscegenation laws up until 1967, saying that Black people and Caucasian people could not get married, that's proof that racism is actually a genetic thing, that they don't want Black people and white people mixing together, or Caucasian people mixing together, right? Because I don't say white anymore. I only say Caucasian, referring to what people say as white people. So many people might get offended by me saying Caucasian, but I'm just trying to be more scientific, and, you know, or I'll say Euro diaspora, you know, because white's a caste. It's not an actual group of people. White doesn't actually exist, right? So yeah, so we're going to flip around. Okay. Now we're going back. All right. So we're going to look at this again. So yeah, so we see that, you know, they're not talking about all these other instances. Like and then if I type, all right, so I'm going to go back to this video. We're going to listen to some more. All right, we're going to listen to this.
Yeah, after the show.
Okay.
I'm about to kick your ass.
Yeah, all right.
All right, Tyrone.
Tyrone, how'd you get his name?
Because I could tell. Because I sing with shoes. Tyrone shoes. You know, a guy walks by the radio, takes the whole thing out of context, right away accuses me of being racist. I am the most you know how many Black friends I have? How many, Robin? Tell them.
None.
Okay. But I would if I could.
I don't go to any of those Black films. Ever. Ever. Black people cannot handle themselves in the movies, Robin.
Oh, stop that.
I'm going to pass legislation. You see, I'm telling you, I saw 4 blacks fighting at Aladdin when I took the kids.
Lion King.
Lion King. Hey, man, that's not in it. Are you kidding me? What is going on with Black people? There's something going on in the Black community. I've seen it since I was a little kid. No one can behave at the movies. It could be genetic. It could be that Black people talk to movie screens. I'm telling you.
All right, so we're going to go back to genetics. We're going to go back to Francis Cress Welsing. All right, he's talking about genetics. Like,
if Mr. Black and Mr. White live next door to each other, they have the same job, the same income, the same car, the same furniture. Yeah. They both walk out of the house in the morning. Good morning, Mr. Black. Good morning, Mr. White. Yeah. But Mr. White is still looking, but you've got something that I don't have.
You're saying he's saying that
He's
self-consciously.
saying,
Now, wait a minute. All right, we'll give you a chance in just a moment.
Wait a minute.
Now, wait a minute.
Let's look at
They're nice people. You're really going to like them, I promise you. Once in a while, you know, a couple of them stop before they come up here, and you got to keep them in.
Let's look at this.
Go ahead, look at it.
Very fortunately.
Now, let me just understand this. See, the reason they're growing is, you know, that's an awful bad rap to take. Let me just arrogantly try and reword what I think you're saying. Now, don't get crazy. Let me say it.
Please,
Mr. White is looking at Mr. Black, and he's not consciously saying, don't you dare.
Not consciously.
So it is under.
Not consciously. I mean, we could go on for 3 hours. Not consciously.
All right.
Okay. I am saying that this behavior is at the subconscious level, and there's a lot of evidence. For example, just on Saturday, the New York Times had an article talking about the percentage of people who want a tan. 66%. I have the article if anybody wants to look at it later. 66% of white adults think they look better with a tan. 70% of white adolescents think they look better with a tan. What do white people? Oh, I look so pale. Now, this is not something that Francis Welsing is putting on people. White females even say their ideal mate is who? Tall, dark, and handsome.
Wait a minute. Just a minute. That whites do indeed desire to have colored skin can be seen by anyone at the very first signs of spring or summer. When they begin to strip off their clothes as many pieces as the law will allow, often permitting their skins to be burned severely in an attempt to add some color to their white, pale, colorless bodies, rendering themselves vulnerable to the dreaded skin cancer in the process. Most cosmetics also are seen as an attempt to add color to their skins. Such coloring makeup is even now being provided for the white male. Well, guess who has you-know-what on at this moment? And if you don't mind my saying so, I do. I put it on myself. I don't go to makeup. I have a shine on my nose I've got to take. But I feel better for a little color. And I've got the whitest skin in the whole neighborhood. I'm telling you, no kidding. I'm not bragging. I'm saying as a matter of fact.
This is not, my discussion is not about making fun of white people. My discussion is trying to explain behavior.
So we're going back to that. So that's why I'm playing this, is that excerpt, is that she's trying to explain the behavior of this. Why are all of these people doing this? You know, why aren't they mocking, you know, people with freckles or people with red hair? Why is it specifically black people? And, you know, she theorized that it was, you know, due to genetic factors. And we showed the genetic factors and the growth rates earlier. For those of us tuning in, you could rewind in the future and go back and find the genetic roots of why, European countries are tending to have negative growth rates, while Black, Muslims, Mexican people, other Spanish-speaking people are having babies at higher rates than the Caucasian diaspora. And most of racism is a lot connected to that. All right. So, yeah, so we've got Howard Stern. So we've seen this blackface instance, right? And then we've seen this blackface instance. Right, so now we're going to look for the other one. So this is a live organic investigation. All right, now, all right, so let's see. We're going to let the rest of this play. He's going to say some more racist stuff. Probably.
I think if you're a black man and you use the word nigger in a poem, it's okay.
No. Who told you that?
That's my rule. Oh. You can have your rule.
When did you get to vote?
Hey, I have the same vote everyone else does. This is America. Hey, you don't have your own agenda. Maybe you need a white man to settle out when the right word, the right time to use nigger.
Thanks, Massa.
Massa.
The only people that get upset about the word nigger are oversensitive niggas.
There's Mrs. Shot.
So we can see, you know, Howard Stern has a lot of examples of racist stuff, and the news isn't even showing all these things. They could easily pull this up, you know, but they notice they're not pulling it up. This is why I'm pulling it up. So for the future, kids will be able to click on this link on YouTube and see, why people do this, what he's done, why people are asking to cancel him, and just seeing the general scope of this, because it's bigger than just, racism. It's much bigger, you know.
Like typically stupid.
There's Mr. Shot. See, that's not right. Listen, here's my point.
Go ahead, man.
On the E Network.
You got a point?
On the E Network, why can't you use the word nigger in comedy? And then at the same breath you can use chink.
Well, what I would say is your defense is the HBO comedy show. What is that thing called?
The Jam.
Yeah,
Comedy
HBO
Jam.
Comedy Jam or
Def
whatever.
Jam.
Def Jam Comedy something or other. Everybody says nigger.
Right. In the house.
Oh, you niggas.
Right. Hey, niggas. What's up?
What's up, niggas?
What's up, nigga?
So why can't you use it in comedy?
You know that Dr. King...
And we're going to talk about that in the future. That's a whole other issue of just the N-word and all that type of stuff. But we're specifically focusing on Howard Stern and blackface. But we've already clearly ascertained that he's obviously a bigot. He's obviously a white supremacist. And he's endangering the lives of black people every time he gets on the radio. Because when you have a white supremacist on the radio, even if they're not saying, oh, go burn down that person's church, or go lynch that person, or go fire that person, when you get an environment and a culture of ridicule that's happening on a consistent basis, then people take it on their own to go and act out in new ways or old ways, to ensure white supremacy. And meaning, demeaning or hurting or tormenting or ridiculing or, doing things towards other people that can that's putting down black people, basically. So let's flip back around. All right, so now we're going to go back, and we're going to look for some more Howard Stern instances. We had that one. So we've got, on this chart, this is the one that's being covered in the news. They're only covering this one. All right, and then we just clicked on this one right here. All right, so this one is this right here. Now we're going to look for this, maybe these other ones, like we can find this one, maybe this one. So I'm going to type, let's see. Well, I guess no, we saw that one in this. Let me see. Let's rewind in this one. This one we saw this one, and yeah, it was just that one instance. We haven't seen the one of him that looks like it's much older, like maybe this one. Yeah, we did see that one. So we've seen 3 so far. We've seen that one, we've seen this one, and this one. We haven't found the Clarence Thomas one yet. So I'm going to type Howard Stern, Clarence Thomas. And for those who don't know, when he's right now he's making fun, in this particular one, he's making fun of Clarence Thomas, one of our nation's Supreme Court justices. So he's actually wearing blackface and making a mockery of one of our judicial branch, one of our 3 branches. We have the executive, legislative, and judicial, and this is one of the members of the judicial branch who has a lifetime. They have lifetime. They serve for a lifetime. That's what their term is. They have lifetime terms. All right. Now, so for those who hadn't seen, this is him saying,
Rachel. Slave name. That's a slave name.
Wait.
Brother.
I don't tell racial joke.
What kind of name is Petey Green? That's a slave name. Brother Abdulim Ali Khalim is a name for Petey Green.
Racial jokes are just
right. So maybe let's see what happens if we type it on YouTube. I'm going to type Howard Stern, and then I'm going to type maybe blackface. Howard Stern blackface, right? And people are talking about the issue. All right, so we've seen this one before, Channel 9, right? And we've seen this one. And for those who are new to all this, we're going to go back to the, every maybe 30, 40 minutes, I'm going back to this.
May I say something here?
So once again, the people that are just entering, this is Howard Stern saying he never said the N-word. And we just seen him say it 1,000,000 times, but that just shows he's lying.
The N-word. Let's be very clear. Hey, Robin, my belief was, hey, say it out in the open.
Yes.
I didn't use the N-word. Let's be very clear.
Hey, Robin, what does you call a black rocket scientist?
I don't know.
A nigger. Whoopie roaded. I want you to give us a kiss, you smelly coghead coon. I love you.
May I say something here?
Oh, you can say whatever you want, you smelly nigger. Whoopi wrote that.
That's it, Ted. You didn't know I was going to say that. Whoopi had no chance to write it. I don't accept that kind of language.
And notice how, oh, good, the other ones are here. Tariq got them. Oh, I didn't even realize that. That's great. So, yeah, so the news isn't even covering everything Tariq exposed. And also, notice how the guy from the Jeffersons, I forget this actor's name, how he was bugging his eyes out in the video. That's a common racist motif that racist people will tell black actors to do on film, like bug your eyes out. So you notice like Kevin Hart or, even, just a lot of people are, they bug their eyes out. They make their eyes wide open on film, on camera, right? So that's like a constant thing. And we'll focus on that when we talk about A-Track's racism in the future too. He had a video where he had black people bugging their eyes out. Right. All right. So let's go to these other examples. Right. So let's see this full one. We're gonna watch this whole thing.
So now, how come I don't get no big chair? I'm talking to Howard. What's your name?
Stern, Nipsey.
So now,
I like when you rhyme. Nipsey. Do that for me.
You look like Nipsey. Nipsey Russell. But hold it now. Your cracker gonna take over now. You got now hold. The one thing about it already, see, you got a nigga working for you. But you don't run this nigga here, so cracker, you shut up. Fox is a good and crazy cracker, so I'm gonna let him talk, but I want all the niggas at home to let this cracker educate you how ignorant crackers can do while I
where's the
educate
count?
crackers how intelligent niggas can. Go ahead and rap, nigga.
Wait a second. Her name is Petey Gray. That's a slave name.
And now an interview with Supreme Court nominee Judge Clarence Thomas. Here's Robin Quivers.
Good evening.
And so
But you don't talk to me that
let's
way,
see.
or I'll leave.
For those who don't know who Clarence Thomas is, I'm gonna type in Clarence Thomas. So we can find who he is. So Clarence, because this is a historical thing, and he's ridiculing black people. He's ridiculing black people that in positions of excellence, right? All right. So this is Clarence Thomas, right? He's one of the Supreme Court judges, and this is Howard Stern acting like he's Clarence Thomas, right? Being very racist. This is not funny. You know, people that try to say satire is an art form. Yes, it is an art form, but an art form can still be racist. Just because something is art doesn't mean it's racist. I mean, just because something is art doesn't mean it's not racist, right? Because art exists in the real world. So the world outside of art is real, and art is not real, right? Within the art. The ideas within art are all, you know, pretty much not real, except how we relate to them in the outside world. So let's go back to where we were, to Tariq Nasheed's post. And remember, for those who are tuning in, Tariq Nasheed is a Black American filmmaker that's released the Hidden Colors series that's now banned in Europe. He just tried to ban his newest documentary in the series, and they banned him from traveling to Europe to lecture and show his videos. Meanwhile, once again, you know, if you do blackface, you get commended and you get the highest award in the UK. Right, so we can see that the UK is a very, very racist place, right? Okay, so now let's go back to this where we were. All right, we played that one. So let's see, we played that one. All right, let's see, let's see.
How come I don't get no big chair?
All right, so yeah, let's let this play out. The Clarence Thomas.
Hey, Judge Clarence Thomas. Here's Robin Quivers.
Good evening. Without further ado, I'd like to present the latest nominee to the United States Supreme Court, the Honorable Clarence Thomas.
Oonga boonga. Now, I'm just trying to improve my image. The black people are against me because they say that I'm not a real black man. I want to say to them and to all you that I am proud to be here. I would like to say that I am cognizant of black people, and I would like to be the head marketing mark of the Supreme Judiciary Continuance. That's right.
I understood you to be a very conservative and well-educated...
Hey, what am this? The Montel Williams show?
All right, so now we're going to go... So we saw those... So those... We've gotten... let's see, we've seen this one. And we've seen this one, and we've seen this one, and this one. So we've seen them all now. So we've seen this one, and we're going to go back to the original one. That's the one that's like the news is talking about. They're only really talking about that one. But at least Tariq's found all his stuff, right? They were able to pull it all up. And we're going to play this one more time. This one that the news is talking about, and then we're gonna end soon. You know, we're gonna wrap it up. All right, because I've thoroughly exercised, you know, this kind of like demonic blackface stuff, and you know, now that it's pretty much been fully exercised, we can end this lecture, right, on Howard Stern. He's been very much exercised through this.
Black rocket.
This is an exercise process.
Scientist.
I don't know.
A nigga. Whoopie roaded. I want you to give us a kiss, you smelly coghead coon. I love you.
May I say something here?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you can say whatever you want, you smelly nigga. Whoopi wrote that.
That's it, Ted. You didn't know I was going to say that. Whoopi had no chance to write it. I don't accept that kind of language.
All right, now, this is for the turntable heads. This is just a little preview of what the next video is going to be, right? So this is Howard Stern. You know, he's a DJ, and we've exposed, you know, Howard Stern, showing that he's, you know, very much a racist who obviously needs to be canceled. So, yeah, so I think we pretty much exercised... you know, the demonic nature of Howard Stern's racism targeted at black people. And, yeah, I think we're done. All right, so peace. We're out.